This is Joe Foreman live from Cabrini University here on CSI Sportsnet. The start time of tonight's matchup between the Dolphins and the Cavaliers of Cabrini University has been pushed back to 8:15. Mike Babusky, Dave Pizzuto, and I will be on the air beginning at approximately 7:45, 1/2 hour before tip-off of the matchup between the Dolphins and the Cavaliers tonight. Live from Radnor, Pennsylvania at the Nerdney Fieldhouse. So stay tuned here to CSI Sportsnet, or at least tune in beginning at 7:45. And Mike, Dave, and I will have the call of tonight's NCAA tournament matchup between the Dolphins and the Cavaliers. Once again, this is Joe Foreman for CSI Sportsnet as I test the microphones here from the Nerdney Fieldhouse. I once again want to repeat my previous announcement. Tonight's matchup between the Dolphins and Cavaliers has been delayed until 8:15 p.m. due to the road conditions and teams arriving here at Radnor, Pennsylvania a bit late. The Dolphins and Cavaliers scheduled to tip off at 8:15 p.m. We'll have all the action live for you here on CSI Sportsnet. Myself, Joe Foreman, Mike Babusky, and Dave Pizzuto will have the call, so stay tuned to CSI Sportsnet beginning at approximately 7:45 for our pregame show, as Mike, Dave, and I will have full coverage of tonight's NCAA Division III National Championship Tournament opening round game between the Dolphins of the College of Staten Island and the Cavaliers of Cabrini University. One final microphone check here on CSI Sportsnet. This is Joe Foreman. Myself, Mike Babusky, and Dave Pizzuto will have the call of tonight's game between the Dolphins of the College of Staten Island and the Cavaliers of Cabrini University here on CSI Sportsnet beginning at approximately 7:45 p.m. with the pregame show. Tip-off has been rescheduled for 8:15 p.m. after the weather conditions here in Radnor, Pennsylvania, forced some of the teams playing in the earlier matchups to arrive at their destinations late. So this was one of the games that was pushed back. Game between Albright and Springfield going on right now as they're actually about to start the second half here at 7:05 p.m. from the Nerdney Fieldhouse in Radnor, Pennsylvania. So the second half of the game between Albright and Springfield, the game preceding the Dolphins and Cavaliers, just beginning the second half right now. As I speak, the Dolphins and Cavaliers will be on the air beginning at approximately 8:15 p.m. Our pregame show starts at 7:45. We invite you to join us here on CSI Sportsnet beginning at approximately 7:45 for pregame coverage of tonight's NCAA Division III National Championship Tournament matchup between the Dolphins and the Cavaliers.
Live from the Nerney Fieldhouse in Radnor, Pennsylvania, home of the Cabrini University Cavaliers. CSI Sportsnet and CSIDolphins.com invites you into coverage of College of Staten Island men's basketball and this, the NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament's first round. Tonight, it's the College of Staten Island rolling in with a record of 17-11, winners of the CUNY Athletic Conference Championship, taking on number 22 ranked Cabrini University, coming in with a record of 24-3, and champions of the Colonial States Athletic Conference. It's their second meeting of the season. Good evening, everybody. I'm David Pizzuto, joined alongside tonight Mike Babuski and Joe Foreman joining us as well for a special three-man broadcast. We'll go commercial-free throughout the evening for you, and with all coverage, of course, throughout the night. Tip-off scheduled for about 25 minutes from now. A late start, Mike, because of the obvious winter weather delaying the start of the first game. There was a blackout during the second half of Springfield versus Albright, a game won by Springfield. And now finally, Mike, right before 8:30, we should see some NCAA championship basketball.
Yeah, and Dave, the Dolphins back for the second year in a row here in the NCAA tournament and looking to come back from that loss in last year's tournament against Swarthmore College. And, Dave, Dolphins did a great job getting into the tournament here. They, ended up falling back into a non-bye position in the CUNYAC Conference, but they were able to get that big win at home against Brooklyn College, and then took it down to the wire against Lehman, but ultimately able to escape with a big 2-point win.
Yeah, and especially when the tournament turned over to CCNY, the Dolphins scored 2 wins, Mike, against 2 teams that had beaten them during the regular season. Baruch College had come into the Sports and Recreation Center, handed the Dolphins a big loss on their home court. Dolphins exercised that game in the semifinal round, and then Lehman, a team that beat them twice in nail-biting fashion both times, the Dolphins were able to overcome the Lightning. And now, Mike, for a third time during this postseason run, they're playing a team that handed them a loss during the regular season. These two teams met exactly 1 month ago tonight. February 3rd, Cabrini took a 2-point win.
Yeah, it was a game that the Dolphins were able to get a lead in the last couple of minutes, but Cabrini behind a big 29-point, 17-rebound game by Tahim Monroe was able to help propel the Cavaliers to victory. And, he's a player, Dave, certainly the Dolphins are going to have to keep an eye on today. But, an interesting dynamic in this year's NCAA tournament, the Dolphins with an opportunity to come back and play a team that they just played here, like you mentioned, Dave, 1 month ago.
And let's take a little bit more of an introspective look at the CSI Dolphins this year. Joe, it's been a helter-skelter type of season for the Dolphins. They started out very strong. They hit a snag towards the second half of the season, especially down the stretch of CUNY play, but they rebounded nicely, and of course, they got a 3-game winning streak when they needed it most.
And we spoke about it earlier, Dave. The Dolphins done a great job closing games down the stretch of this season in the CUNYAC tournament against Brooklyn College, a team that many of us expected the Dolphins to handle, really gave them a close competitive game that down to the wire, the Bulldogs led. A huge shot by Eden Bracic gave the Dolphins the victory in that game over the Bulldogs. They carried that momentum through the CUNYAC tournament, defeating Baruch and Lehman, as you mentioned before, 2 teams that handed them losses in the regular season. Strong showings in those final 2 games for the Dolphins, and Lehman, a team that actually beat CSI twice during the regular season. The Dolphins able to overcome them and capture the CUNYAC championship this year. Hopefully for the Dolphins, they continue to carry that momentum and play well against teams that defeated them this season. You guys both mentioned that the Dolphins fell at the hands of the Cavaliers earlier this season in, I believe, their final non-conference game of the regular season. The Dolphins now have an opportunity to avenge that defeat with a victory tonight.
Yeah, and Mike, Joe mentioned about the big win over Brooklyn in the CUNY quarterfinals, and it marked the game, Mike, where the Dolphins were able to win one the same way they were losing games in the final moments of the game. And to see them play that game out to the final buzzer, win that one, and then really close the door on Baruch and Lehman in the waning moments, that's a promising sign for a team still developing and a team on the younger side.
Yeah, Dave, the way especially they were able to close out a Baruch team, which was able to beat them in the prior contest, was very impressive. And, that game against Lehman College, boy, oh boy, Dave, it was a close one that could have gone either way, but Dolphins did a great job finding a way to win. And, you mentioned the youth of this CSI Dolphin team, Dave, and a little bit of the up and down of the season where the team got off to that good start and kind of had that little bit of a lag before coming back to close the season. And, you look at young players like Adeola Latunji and even Christian Taylor. Sometimes it's hard to remember that he's just a senior, but both of those players really started playing much better down the stretch. And Dolphins also started to get contributions from some of their older players, Rob Rossiter coming up big, Dave, during the CUNYAC championships as well.
Yeah, and you make a great point, Mike, because you mentioned the fact that on any given day, really anybody could step up, and that's what good, hungry young teams do. And especially during the playoff push, Mike, you have a player like Rob Rossiter, as you mentioned. He played only 10 minutes in the game against Baruch, ended up being the second leading scorer for the Dolphins in the championship game against Lehman. Adeola Latunji, a little bit of a down game in the quarterfinal round in the semis. 21 points against Lehman. So you just never know where this team is going to strike.
Yeah, Dave, that's one of the good things about this team. And, Ray Savage has had big games. He came up big in the game against Lehman College as well. Several big three-pointers for Ray. And, something we haven't focused in on yet, but the way this team was able to defend throughout the CUNYAC tournament, something they're going to really need tonight on the road, facing a home team here in the NCAA tournament.
And Joe, Mike mentions defense, and who else but Edin Bracic, always covering the other team's best player. He'll get, of course, a load on his hands trying to guard Monroe. But then you also have a player by the name of Jade Spencer. Here's a sophomore, Joe, who's played 15 minutes per game on the average during the regular season. He averaged 25 minutes per game during the postseason, and he was a huge factor down the stretch.
He absolutely was. I don't recall which conference opponent it was. I think it was the last conference regular season game, perhaps that game against Hunter, if I'm remembering correctly. But down the stretch of the season, Jade Spencer came up huge for the Dolphins, had some game-clinching blocks. I believe he tied a school record with, I believe the number was 7 blocks in that game. So Jade Spencer, definitely a defensive presence for the Dolphins this season. And you also mentioned Edin Bracic getting it done defensively as well. Even when he's not knocking down the three-pointers, which down the stretch of the season was a rare occurrence, he gets it done at the defensive end, always attempting to poke the ball loose, getting in passing lanes, and as you mentioned, guarding the opposing team's best player. Also going for the Dolphins right now is the variation in their offensive attack. In this last matchup against the Cavaliers, 4 Dolphins scored in double figures, and that's something they'll be looking for once again here tonight. It was Christian Taylor who had the big game with 24, but Stephen Flagg had 12, Edin Bracic had 11, and Adeola Latunji had 10 in the Dolphins' first matchup here at Cabrini. And one last note about that matchup against the Cavaliers earlier this season, the Dolphins did have a much stronger second half than first half. We talked about how this team has closed out games. In the second half of that game against the Cavaliers during the regular season, the Dolphins from three-point range shot, it was 3 of 8 as opposed to only 1 of 11 in the first half. Also in the first half, the Dolphins shot 37.5%, bumped their field goal percentage shooting in the second half up to nearly 47%. So a vast improvement for the Dolphins offensively in the second half of that game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, Joe mentioned the three-point shooting, and that's one of the ways that the Dolphins do win ball games, but they do it in a lot of ways. This is a team that manufactures wins, similar to how baseball teams sometimes just find a way and piece together different elements. There's no real one thing that this team is strong at, and yet they can beat you in a variety of ways.
Yeah, that's really what they've done all season long, Dave. There've been some games where they, really haven't been able to hit the three-point shot and have been able to win games defensively and, doing a better job rebounding the basketball. But, like we mentioned, here tonight on the road against a very strong, experienced Cabrini team, the Dolphins are going to need solid performances out of all of their players. And, Joe just mentioned Stephen Flagg. And, we've seen Stephen have 20-point games. We've seen Stephen have games where he struggled a little bit offensively. And, he's certainly a player that can really help give the Dolphins an inside presence. And when he's taking the ball to the basket strong, that could open up some opportunities outside for the rest of his Dolphin teammates.
Yeah, and Joe, Mike mentions inside presence. Dolphins are going to need it tonight. Cabrini, they don't kill their opponents on the boards, but they've out-rebounded their opponents 19 times this season. They're 19-0 when they out-rebound their opponents. CSI was able to win the rebounding war the last time these two teams played. How do they avoid getting out-hustled on the boards tonight?
We've mentioned it several times already this season. The Dolphins, a team that does lack some size, especially on the interior. I don't believe they start a player who stands over 6'3" tall, but the Dolphins have been battling on the boards all season long and have done a great job in closing out defensive possessions when faced with larger opponents. The Dolphins only lost the rebounding battle on the season by an average of about half a rebound per game, and for a team that, as I just mentioned, starts 5 players listed under 6'3", that's a very impressive number, only being out-rebounded by such a small margin. You mentioned the defensive prowess of this team as well, especially down the stretch, and closing out defensive possessions is done on the defensive glass, so the Dolphins will have to get a little bit physical inside with this Cabrini team and force them to work if they're going to pick up offensive rebounds, but it is very important for the Dolphins to close out defensive stops, and in order to do that, they have to come away with defensive boards.
Well, they were able to do that during the regular season. Of course, tonight, a little bit different, Mike, for a very obvious reason. The lights are on here. It's the NCAA tournament. There's only 64 teams left in the Division III ranks who are actually playing today. It's very important, and head coach TJ Tibbs has said this openly, that this moment doesn't become bigger than the team. If you're a team like the Dolphins, Cabrini's been here. We know that the Dolphins were here last year, but it's still a very young team. How do they make it so that the moment doesn't get the best of them?
Well, they've been doing things like that all season long. Head coach TJ Tibbs in his first season as head coach for the Dolphins, really put a lot of expectations on this team right from the beginning. This team was picked in the preseason Kudiak poll to finish 5th, and the Dolphins came out with the attitude that they weren't a 5th place team, that they were going to play much better in the conference. And they started out their conference schedule very strong. They only lost 4 games all year long in the conference and really could have won any one or all 4 of those 4 games, and were able to take that confidence from the regular season and perform extremely well in 3 one-and-done games in a row. And coming off of that performance and speaking with a couple of players before the game tonight, it doesn't seem like the moment's going to get them. And we'll see what happens when they step out on the floor. Dave, if you remember, we went down to Swarthmore last year, and it was a much more veteran team and a team with much more experience, and of course led by Frankie Scittino, and the gym was rocking, and the Dolphins just never seemed to get their feet under them in that game. Hopefully here tonight they won't have that same problem.
Yeah, and you know what, Joe, one thing that we can say about this CSI team before we start to analyze Cabrini a little bit more is they've been really good on the road. The Dolphins only 7-6 at home, and one of those wins was actually a loss that turned into a forfeit. So for games played on their home court, the Dolphins are 6-7 this season. They're 10-5 on the road, and they've played really well on the road. And perhaps a night like this, Joe, where the weather is not that great, there's not a lot of fans here. At least they haven't shown up yet. They should already be here, considering that game time was supposed to be played over an hour ago. This could really benefit the Dolphins.
It absolutely could. You mentioned before the lights are on here tonight. They weren't on a few moments ago, as you mentioned, during the conclusion of our last game. And power outages along with the weather could be a factor in keeping people home tonight. So with Cabrini, of course, being the host of this opening round game, and a lot of their fans perhaps not showing up, that could, of course, play into the hands of the Dolphins. And you mentioned the Dolphins' prowess on the road as well. And I took a look back at CSI's schedule. After a 1-4 start, the Dolphins were in absolutely every game they played from that point forward. Easily could have won any one of them. So the Dolphins definitely played well from that point forward in the season. That 5th game was played back on November 29th against Stevens Institute. Since then, this team has been fairly consistent remaining in games overall. Didn't close games very well for a brief period of about 3 or 4 games where they fell late, but they closed out the season very strongly, as we've already mentioned. Picked up a Kudiak championship, of course, earning them the bid into this NCAA opening round game tonight against the Cavaliers of Cabrini University, a team that, as we mentioned, they played during the regular season. So they have that first look at this team, perhaps know a bit more of what to expect. We'll see if that helps them here tonight as well.
We are less than 10 minutes away from tip-off. You're listening to the CSI Sportsnet pregame show. David Pizzuto alongside Mike Babusky and Joe Foreman. And Mike will turn turn the page a little bit. Joe mentioned how hot, CSI has been playing, how consistent they've been playing. There's a team on the floor that's been doing it all year. They're Cabrini University. They're 24-3. The year that the Dolphins went to the Sweet 16, Mike, they lost in the NCAA championship game that same year. They've been to the NCAA tournament 3 times since. They're seasoned. They've got some great, terrific players. They're among the nation's highest scoring teams, and they beat you in a lot of ways. And they're warming up now and showing what they can do, draining a lot of shots.
Yeah, Dave, this is a team that's shooting 48% from the floor as a team. This is a team that has 6 players averaging 9 or more points per game. This is a team that has lost, Dave, only 1 game on their schedule since December 10th. So this is a team that's coming in and really firing on all cylinders. And, we mentioned before Tysheem Monroe. Tysheem coming in averaging just under 22 points a game, 15.1 rebounds a game as well, and shooting over 51% from the field. So, he's just one of several very talented Cavalier players that this Dolphin team is going to have to deal with tonight.
And speaking of Tysheem Monroe, Mike, this is a player who, like you said, shoots well over 50% from the floor. The Dolphins pretty much held him in check the last time these 2 teams played. He only shot a little over 40%, Mike, but he still scored 29 points and 17 rebounds. It just goes to show the quality of player he is.
Yeah, and he's the kind of player that rounds out the stat sheet, Dave, finishing with 4 blocks and 2 steals in that game as well against the Dolphins. And, the Dolphins do things and they spread the ball out, and, they have Christian Taylor running the offense. And, you look at this Cabrini University team, it doesn't appear like they go that deep on the bench during some of their games, but boy, they have a lot of talent, and they're able to get scoring from a lot of different players. And, they basically have a starting 5 that's been averaging in double digits.
Yeah, and if Monroe isn't strong enough, Joe, you got so many other players on this roster who can hurt you, namely Keith Blassingale, and then a little bit further down, DJ Smith. Respectively 69 and 75 3-pointers this season. This team could shoot from beyond the arc, guys. And Joe, it was a player by the name of Anthony Wright Downing, who only has 4 starts this season. He went off for 32 points against Newman in Cabrini's championship game in the CSAC. So, again, they can hurt you in a lot of different ways.
They absolutely can. And if you take a look at this roster, the scoring averages, they have 6 players averaging at least 9 points per game, those being Ivan Robinson, DJ Smith, Daryl Bagwell, Anthony Wright Downing, Keith Blassingale, and Tysheem Monroe, and 3 players averaging at least 14 points a game, those being Wright Downing, Blassingale, and Monroe. So for the Cavaliers, a lot of players who could hurt you at the offensive end. And another very impressive number that jumped out to me when I took a look at the stats for this Cavaliers team, they shoot nearly 48% from the field. That is a very impressive number. They hold the opposition to 44% shooting, which is still a solid number if you're the opposition to shoot 44%. But if you're giving up a 48% shooting clip to go along with 35% from beyond the arc, it is going to be tough to keep up with that scoring pace. And the Cavaliers, as you mentioned, one of the top scoring teams in the nation, have really set a high scoring pace so far this season. Yeah,
and we talk about how young the Dolphins are, but really, Cabrini is just as young. I mean, obviously, Monroe, Devontae Mosley, more of a role player. They're seniors on the team, but this is a team that's still on the younger side of things. They lost in the NCAA first round last year. And guys, this is a team that also is used to winning games late and pulling games out. So they've been tested repeatedly, but their mettle has been there throughout the season, Mike.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Dave. We mentioned that before. This team has only lost 3 games all year long, and they suffered a loss in their 2nd game of the season. So, putting that loss aside, they were, basically able to go and lose just 2 games for the remainder of the regular season. going 23-2 in those games. And, they've been very solid at home, very solid on the road. They're a very solid club. And, when the Dolphins went in and played them, they were really struggling in the regular season, Dave. And, we thought it might be a tough effort, but the Dolphins really came back, played a really strong game against Cabrini. And even in the loss, Dave, that was probably the game that really turned their season around. That was the fourth of 4 consecutive losses in a row for the CSI Dolphins. But since that time, they've only lost 1 game against Lehman College, winning 5 out of their last 6.
Yeah, TJ Tibbs doesn't mind when the team loses so long as they learn from the loss and come back and turn it into a win the next time around. And, it's not like CSI hasn't had success against this Cabrini team. This is actually the 3rd meeting between these two teams in the last 2 years. They met last year during the Salisbury University tip-off tournament. CSI had a 9-point lead in that game, Joe. Cabrini came back, won it by 5. This season, CSI had a more modest 5-point lead in the first half, but as Mike mentioned earlier, had the lead with inside of 90 seconds to go, only to see Cabrini come back. So really, it's been Cabrini that has had that last answer against this CSI team. How does CSI reverse that trend tonight?
Well, if we take a look at the stats from this year's game, the Dolphins did some things very well in that first matchup against Cabrini. They shot 41% from the field, which is a good number, but they won the rebounding battle 47-38 in that game. So that's something the Dolphins could take away from that earlier matchup against the Cavaliers as well. And in that game, they held a Cavaliers team that averages nearly 89 points a game to only 76 points. So that's a number the Dolphins can look at and say, well, I think we did a good job defensively. Just 2 points better, and you're tied at the end of regulation. Of course, they lost the game by 2 points. So the Dolphins were not far away from picking up a victory in that game. You mentioned that at one point they led by 5, and there are some things the Dolphins didn't do well in that game. On top of the good things, they didn't shoot well from beyond the arc, only 21%, 4 of 19 for the game. They did hold the Cavaliers to under 40% shooting. That's a team that shoots nearly 48% from the field, held under 40%. So a good number there for the Dolphins defensively as well. They also held the Cavaliers to just under 31% from beyond the arc. So if you take a look at the defensive numbers and the rebounding, the Dolphins did very well in that first matchup earlier in the season against Cabrini. The Dolphins did not shoot as well from beyond the arc as we're accustomed to seeing, and ultimately that was the big thing that really hurt them in this game, taking a look at the stat line, because in many other areas, the Dolphins came out ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And, those are all, very good points. You mentioned another key and a stat to look at, guys. The Dolphins are 9-1 this season when they hold their opponents to 20 or fewer free throws, actually less than 20 free throws in games. They're only 7-11 when their opponents get to the line, and that's something that opponents do a lot of when it comes to playing CSI. They get to the line a lot. CSI fouls a lot. They find themselves in foul trouble, Mike, and that's been a real Achilles heel of this team. How important is it for the Dolphins to stay out of foul trouble tonight?
Well, you mentioned earlier, Dave, Rob Rossiter has found himself in early foul trouble in several of these games lately, and for the Dolphins to be successful tonight, you'll remember in the game earlier in the CUNYAC Championships, Adiola Latunji picked up a couple of quick personals, and that's a player that they really need on the floor. And of course, Christian Taylor, probably the most important Dolphin player on the floor. He's a distributor. He leads the team in scoring. He dishes the ball off, and him, of course, staying out of foul trouble, very key for the Dolphins. And Stephen Flagg is another player, Dave, that's found themselves at times struggling with foul trouble.
Yeah, we don't have starters yet, but when we do, we will get them to you. We just had some lights go out. Now they're back on. It's going to be a little bit of a wacky game. The weather has really played havoc, but we are just about set for tip-off. 1 minute to go before we get the official NCAA postseason started for the College of Staten Island. Once again, 17-11 this season. Cabrini just recently ranked by D3 Hoops at number 22 overall. They were ranked, I believe, earlier in the season as well, but they returned to the top 25. Mike, we got a couple seconds. Keys to the game for the Dolphins.
Well, again, Dave, when you look at a Cabrini University team led by Taheem Monroe and the way that he's been able to score and rebound the basketball, their first priority is to make other players defeat the Dolphins here tonight. And, you're not going to hold a player like him to no points, but you want to try to minimize the damage he could do. But the Dolphins are going to have to be strong defensively against all 5 players on the ball. They're not going to be able to have the luxury of just focusing in on a single player. Dave, you mentioned back in their conference championship, Anthony Wright Dowling finishing the tournament as the MVP with 32 points. So a lot of good defensive responsibilities for the Dolphins, and they're going to have to defend as a team here tonight.
Definitely, and again, very good points. Obviously, anytime you play a team like Cabrini, those are some of the things that you need to do. We do have the starters now, Mike, for both teams. I don't believe we'll have a national anthem, so we'll get to tip-off right afterwards. Here is the starters. Mike, why don't we start with the College of Staten Island?
Well, for the College of Staten Island, it'll be number 1, Stephen Flagg, number 2, Adiola Latunji, number 3, Eden Brocic, number 23, Christian Taylor, and number 31, Robert Rossiter. And for the Cavaliers here tonight, it'll be number 2, Trey Smith, number 5, Taheem Monroe, number 21, Keith Bassingale, number 23, Darryl Bagwell, and number 30, DJ Smith. Cabrini coming in with a record of 24-3. Dolphins coming into today's game having dropped their last 3 NCAA tournament games, including the game at Swarthmore in 2017.
Yeah, and that was going to be the next thing I mentioned, Mike. The Dolphins are 5-15 all-time in the NCAA tournament. They haven't won since the 11-12 tournament, of course, when TJ Tibbs, now the head coach, was on the team that went to the Sweet 16. And, Mike, TJ Tibbs has been telling us all year long that it's not good enough to win the CUNY championship. You want to come to this tournament and show the region and the nation what you can accomplish on a much bigger stage. Did he, imagine being here his very first year? Maybe, maybe not. But now that he's here, he wants to win this game.
He really does, Dave. And, you mentioned that magical Dolphin run in 2011, 2012, the run where the Dolphins beat Ithaca, then were able to take out a very strong Rhode Island team, a team that a lot of people were talking about as a Final Four team that year before ultimately dropping in the Sweet 16 round against MIT. So, I agree with you, Dave. There's no doubt that head coach TJ Tibbs not only wants his team to come here and not get overwhelmed by the moment, but he's looking for a win tonight and an opportunity to come in and play Springfield right here at 7:30 tomorrow night.
And it's good that they're in the road uniforms, Mike, because they've been good on the road all season, and they've been playing all season, Mike, with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. We talked about being ranked 5th in the CUNY Conference coming into the season during the preseason polls. Nobody puts a lot of stock in those preseason polls, Mike, let's be honest. But this CSI team made it bulletin board material. And they set out every single game to say, listen, we're better than people think they are. Remember, this is a team that graduated an All-American in Frank Schettino. They lost 72% of their scoring from last year. They lost their 26-year head coach, and yet here they are, rejuvenated. And TJ Tibbs has told us, Mike, from the jump, this team doesn't want to talk about losing. This is a team that has been ingrained with winning tradition. Former coach Tony Petoza put it into their system. When he was a player, he learned that. And it's only really natural to find the Dolphins here.
Yeah, and Dave, it's been an up and down season in so many ways. And, even a lot of these games have been up and down games, Dave, where the Dolphins will come out and play well for a stretch and then struggle a little bit. But the one thing the Dolphins have been able to do all season long is been able to keep mentally focused in the game, and whether they fall behind early or get an early lead and then struggle a little bit in the mid part of the game, they've done a great job on the mental side of basketball here this season.
All right, Joe, Mike told us the keys to the Dolphins game before starters. Give us a couple of keys for Cabrini in order to, dispose of a team that they're favored against, obviously, and that they had a tough out against Staten Island.
Sorry, Dave. I was just getting some feedback on the broadcast from some of our friends at the College of Staten Island.
Okay. Yeah, Dave, again, if you're Cabrini University, you don't need to change anything you've done. You want to come out and play the way you've played all season long. You're 24-3. You've lost 2 games since December. You're 23-2 in your last 25 games. So if you're Cabrini, you want to come out, play solid, play your game, and you have to feel that if you play to the way that you've played all year long, that you're going to come out on top.
All right, so the players are getting set here. On your screen, Cabrini going from right to left. They're in their their home white uniforms with royal trims, and the Dolphins, of course, in their road black with Columbia blue piping and numbers. They will go from left to right on your screen. Official jump time, 8:29 here from Radnor, PA, and the opening tip is won by Cabrini. The Cavaliers shaking around the horn and intercepted by Latunji. Pass was off the mark, intended for Robinson. That was intended for Bagwell. And Christian Taylor now controls. Top of the circle, hands right off to Flag. Latunji drops off to Brocic. They work it around. This is Taylor, now 10 on the shot clock. Rossiter penetrating, gains paint, down low to Latunji, and he beats the defense for the first 2.
Yeah, it was a beautiful play that time and good patience. Latunji with the layup. Dolphins take the first lead of the game.
And so the Cavs control, and we see it into the hands now of Smith. Top, and now down low, and now back up top again. 3-point goal, and it counts by DJ Smith.
Yeah, so Smith gives the Cavaliers their first lead of the game, coming right back with a 3-pointer.
DJ Smith has 84 baskets this season. 76 of them have been for 3. Taylor drives, baseline, pulls up, no shot there, drops off to Latunji, off the glass, no good, too strong, and the rebound is won by Bagwell. Bagwell skates down the right sideline, top of the arc. The give off now back to Bagwell, intercepted by Latunji, and here he goes the other way. 1 against 1, he draws contact, and we have a blocking foul called on Blasingale. That's the correct call, Mike. I know the referee was wondering if that was outside the arc, impeding the progress of Latunji going to the hole.
Yeah, that time Blasingale didn't have a chance to get his feet set in time. Latunji taking the ball to the basket strong. So Adiola with the first basket of the game for the Dolphins will now go to the free throw line to shoot 2.
He's a 73% free throw shooter. He misses the first. He's gone to the line more than any other Dolphin this season. That was free throw number 134 for the first-year sophomore. Hasn't played organized basketball in a couple of years. Attended the University of Albany last year, did not play. We are knotted up at 3. CSI and Cabrini opening moments. Blasingale fronts, now steps over to Bagwell. Bagwell in the hole, and his shot was blocked by Brocic and collected by him. The handoff to Flag. Rossiter now in the baseline for Latunji. He tries to drive, gets held up there by Smith. They work it around the horn. Taylor gives off to Flag. Baseline 3, no good. And it is collected by Monroe. His first board of the evening. Plenty more where that came from. Bagwell sidesteps Rossiter. His layup too strong, and Flag collects. Taylor lost control and gets it over to Flag. Flag pumps and loses it to Monroe. Crossover dribble there. Monroe wants to backpedal. Might have had a lane to the basket there. And he will give over to Smith. Smith wants to slow things down. Bagwell up top to Blasingale. Monroe calls for it. Now takes a step back jumper, no good. And getting up high for the rebound is Taylor.
Yeah, Dolphins doing a good job defensively so far, Dave. Forcing 3 Cavalier turnovers already. Dolphins with just 1 that on their last possession.
And Cabrini now 1 for 3 from the floor, as are the Dolphins. Taylor barks out signals, gives it over to Latunji. Fakes left, goes right, pull up, free throw, jumper is good.
So all 5 points by Adiola Latunji for the Dolphins.
He only had 10 when these two teams met during the regular season. And he's halfway to that now. Bagwell down low, great pass. That time by DJ Smith to find him, and they tie things up at 5.
Yeah, that time Smith able to back in, and the 6'1 freshman gets his second basket of the game as well.
We are a little over 3 minutes into the first half here. In case you joined us late, 5-5 is our score. Latunji being given some space by Monroe. Fronts up just inside the arc for two.
Yeah, there have been times during the season where Adiola's looked great with that mid-range jumper. He buries that one, all 7 points for Adiola.
Now spotting up for three, too strong as it hits the back iron, and here comes CSI the other way. Blassingale with the miss. Blassingale, another one of those heavy three-point shooters for Cabrini. He's hit on 69 threes this season. Misses that one. Taylor barking out signals. He's working in front of Bagwell. Drops off to Latunji. Top of the arc. Gives off to Rossiter. Rossiter pulls up for three. That one way too strong, and it's collected by the Cavs. Bagwell now skates right sideline. Blassingale gives over. Smith for three. No good. A couple of options for DJ Smith early. CSI wants to run the other way. Off the glass and in.
Yeah, Dolphins off to a good start from the field. They're 4 of 7. Cabrini just 2 of 6.
Christian Taylor with his first points. Monroe doesn't take many threes. Now he wants to drive. Gains the paint. Teardrop jumper, no good. Battling for the offensive board was Bagwell, but he loses it to Rossiter. Good start on the boards for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and Monroe's taking a couple of off-balance shots here, Dave. So far in the first half, he's missed them both.
Taylor, top of the arc for three. No good. Missed it left side. And Bagwell collects another rebound. He works against Taylor, and he wants to slow things down as Cabrini works in the half court. This is Trace Smith with it. He works it around the horn. Blassingale and Smith now inside, and on the paint was Monroe. TJ Tibbs liking it for the Dolphins, and we're going to have a timeout. This is a media timeout, Mike. 15:08. The Dolphins up by 4.
Yeah, and you know, this is a Cabrini team, Dave, that's come into today's game with just 12, a little over 12 turnovers a game. The Dolphins have already turned them over 4 times here in this first quarter, and they've just turned the ball over once. So a very good start here for the CSI Dolphins defensively, and Monroe. The Dolphins doing a good job defensively. I think he's forced a couple of shots here maybe so far early in this first half.
And, Joe, we talked in the open about the Dolphins not being overwhelmed with the moment. They've had a really good, solid first 5 minutes.
It's been an excellent start for the College of Staten Island in this game. We talked about how well they played defensively in that last matchup against the Cavaliers. They've come out extraordinarily well so far through the first 5 minutes of this first half. You mentioned the forced turnovers. On top of that, the Cavaliers have been one and done at the offensive end, and that's something that we talked about during the pregame as being very important for this Dolphins team. Also, you have to love the start that Adiola Latunji is off to so far in this first half for CSI. Christian Taylor with a big game against the Cavaliers in their last meeting. Now it's Latunji off to the strong start tonight.
And we'll see how both teams now respond, Mike, following a timeout, an extended timeout, almost similar to a full timeout here as we break for media inside of 16 minutes. Taylor will control. Dolphins do like to run, and now they'll work out of their half-court offense, which has actually been pretty strong here in the first 5 minutes. This is Stephen Flagg working against Blassingale. Great move inside. He's a little short with the layup, and the rebound gets pinballed around. It's won by Blassingale. Cabrini wants to run. Monroe, stopping dribble, goes up top to Bagwell. Inside Monroe, left open, blocked by Stephen Flagg, but the offensive rebound blocked once more. Rossiter is there to interrupt Monroe, but a second and third chance will lead to Cabrini gaining the foul line.
Yeah, that was very good aggressive defense that time by the Dolphins, especially Stephen Flagg. And, Monroe thought he had an open path to the basket. Flagg came over from the weak side to deflect the ball away, and Dolphins made a couple other good plays defensively, but ultimately Monroe was able to get the rebound and get the foul, and now he misses his first free throw.
Yeah, and for Cabrini, they shoot 70% as a team from the free throw line, but Monroe just 64% this season. He's gone to the line more than any other Cavalier. That was his 150th attempt of the season. Here comes 1-5-1, and it's off the front iron, no good, and Jade Spencer, who has checked into the game, collects his first board.
And Ray Savage in the game as well, Dave, for the Dolphins.
Cabrini's been stuck on 5 here for a couple of minutes. Bracic controls. He hasn't shot yet. Around the horn, this is Taylor baseline, gives it over to Bracic. Bracic fires in, rolls around, no good, and Latunji with the putback. He was fouled by Bagwell.
Dave, Adiola had a little bit of a lag in the middle of the season, but He started out the season strong, and he finished out the season strong, and off to a great start here for the Dolphins so far tonight.
Latunji with his second trip to the free throw line this evening. As Mike mentioned, 5 points. The first 5 for the Dolphins. The free throw is good, and he doubles up on the Cavaliers. Dolphins now lead 10-5.
Adiola, Dave, 12 of 16 from the line in the championship game against Lehman College, including a couple of big ones down the stretch.
Daryl Bagwell picked up the foul on that last trip down the floor. That was his first. Blassingale controls, now looking underneath, gaining the paint, stepping out of it, but taking the jumper was Anthony Wright Downing. And Anthony collecting those 32 points in the CSAC championship against Newman. Tremendous game for him.
That was his first basket of the game on a nice offensive move.
Savage thought about a 3, penetrates and opts out to Taylor. Now Spencer, Bracic fakes, goes to Savage for 3, no good. Dolphins' three-point shooting has been off here in the first 6+ minutes.
They're now 0 for 5, Dave, from the three-point line.
Downing kicks it around the horn. This is Blassingale stepping inside. Nice drop-off pass. And the layup no good, as it was too strong by Downing, and Bracic was there to interrupt.
Cabrini really struggling with their shooting, Dave, here in the first half.
Bracic now, the Dolphins 0 of 5 from three-point range here in the early stages. And we have a foul there, as fronting on Taylor was Mike Doyle, who had checked in. And checking in now is the sophomore Brett Foster, 6-foot guard, and he will replace Bagwell. Dolphins will get 20 seconds on the shot clock. Put into the backcourt. Taylor collects. He's working against Foster, who just checked in. Taylor going left, now opting right. See the zone matchup there. This is Savage. Now Spencer with the putback, no good, and Downing collects the rebound. Here comes Cabrini looking to run. Blassingale steps in. Underhanded layup, no good. Monroe thought about a 3. Checks it over to Blassingale for 3. No good. Jump ball rebound won by Bracic. Both teams cold from the floor, shooting 30%. And interrupting Latunji's step was Tyheeb Monroe. And Dolphins like the sight of that. Monroe collecting a foul. He didn't have any in the regular season meeting, Mike.
Yeah, and that time Latunji saw the bigger 6'7" Monroe under the basket and went to challenge him. Monroe picks up his first personal. Dolphins get to inbound the basketball.
Dolphins 4 of 13 from the floor. Taylor with the putback right off the inbounds pass for Bracic. And the Dolphins up by 6, 13-7.
Nice play off the inbounds that time by the Dolphins.
Foster controls over to Blassingale. They look to Wright Downing. Wanted to go across court. Instead, tried to drop off, and interrupting the play was Bracic, as Mike Doyle's pass intended for Wright Downing was interrupted. 19 on the shot clock.
Bracic, nice job defensively here for the Dolphins. He hasn't scored yet, Dave, but playing very well on the defensive end.
His calling card is defense. That's where he earns his keep. And now we have a three-point spot up by Monroe. Friendly rim gives him the three-point goal.
That was a very friendly rim, Dave, and if you're the Dolphins, you hope that's not the shot that gets Monroe going.
Monroe, only his 24th 3 of the season. This is Taylor to Bracic, back over to Taylor. Monroe is guarding him. And this is Latunji off the glass, soft touch, and he puts the Dolphins back up by 5.
Yeah, Adiola can do it from the outside, and we know his ability around the basket.
Foster down low, the give to Monroe, and he spots up. Short jumper 4 feet away, gets it to go.
And that's how you average 22 points a game, Dave. 5 points in the last 2 possessions for Tyheem.
And they now 5 of 14 from the floor, as Foster will pick up the foul against Taylor, who's been busy. We're going to have another media timeout. 11:30 remaining, first half. Dolphins lead by 3. Joe, the Dolphins had their 6-point lead cut in half on that Tyheem Monroe 3. Aside from that, neither team really hot from three-point range to start.
No, but it's been a great start for the Dolphins defensively. We mentioned the Cavaliers, a team that comes in shooting the basketball extremely well. The Dolphins also come in shooting fairly well on the season on top of that. But as you mentioned, neither team has really been able to get going. For the Dolphins, it's primarily been Adeola Latunji who's been the go-to hot hand at the offensive end. You have to love the way he started this game, and I'm sure Christian Taylor, given what he's done so far this season, can get going for CSI as well. If they have both Taylor and Latunji clicking offensively, you have to like their chances at that end of the floor and combine that with the way they play defensively. And if you're a Dolphins fan, you have to be very pleased with the way your team has started.
Yeah, and the Dolphins have the 13 points via the official stats, but they do have 15 in the game, so stats are a little bit off here that what we're looking at. But Latunji, Mike, with 9 of those points, Taylor with another 4. And does it bother you, Mike, right now that aside from Taylor and Latunji, CSI from the floor is 0 for 7?
No, Dave, of course, we mentioned earlier that, the Dolphins are going to need diversified scoring here throughout the game tonight. But, a couple of missed outside three-pointers for the Dolphins. Hopefully, as the game goes along, they're able to hit those. And Spencer with an inside miss that hopefully he can convert on as well.
Savage for 3, no good, but Spencer gets the offensive board. It's Latunji, deep two-pointer. That one is good.
Yeah, it's the Adeola Latunji show so far, Dave. 4 of 5 from the field, 3 of 4 from the line. He has 11.
He had 10 against Cabrini in the regular season, and now he's got 11. Here's Bracic the other way, off the glass and in. And that will prompt time from the Cavaliers. CSI with their biggest lead.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned Dolphins' biggest lead now. They lead by 7, 19-12. And, we mentioned during the pregame, Dave, which team would come in and which team might play nervously here today. And, so far it looks more like the Cavaliers playing like the team with the inexperience and playing a little bit nervous so far here tonight. And, Taheem Monroe also struggling from the field here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. He made that three-point basket, but he's been 0 for underneath so far. And Joe, you have to like the way the Dolphins are playing, especially in the paint. They're getting rebounds. We've seen a couple of blocks here in the early stages. Good, sharp defense so far by the Dolphins.
And I mentioned the physicality that was necessary for the Dolphins to win the battle on the boards, but they've also been very physical defensively and contesting just about every shot that's gone up inside very well. And that's a big reason why they've held this Cabrini team to only 12 points through the first 9 minutes plus of this first half.
10:54 remaining. Clock finally starts here after a couple of seconds. A couple of changes were made, and another turnover for Cabrini, as that time the pass from Trey Smith over to Bagwell goes awry, and the Dolphins will get another chance to pour some points in off the turnover. The Dolphins have played well in the half court. Taylor over to Bracic. He'll trade places with him. Latunji, who's been red hot, 11 points. Savage almost lost it, now does, and here comes Cabrini the other way. Right Downing, contested, and he is fouled. Take your pick, Bracic or Spencer were there.
Yeah, that was the first time in quite a few possessions, Dave, that the Dolphins turned the ball over, and that time Cabrini able to get the fast break, and Dolphins with a pretty good foul there, Dave, preventing the Cavalier layup. Now they'll have to go to the free throw line as Anthony Wright Dowling will go to the free throw line to shoot 2. He's a 68% free throw shooter on the year.
49 of 72, make that 73. As Cabrini also now struggling from the free throw line, something they do not do. They shoot 70%. Remember the stat that we talked about during the pregame. They were 20 of 27 from the free throw line, and Wright Downing misses both.
Yeah, those are the kind of things, Dave, that you need when you come on the road as an underdog. Dolphins getting some breaks. Let's see if they can take advantage this possession.
Taylor going all the way in, left-handed off the glass. 21-12, sorry.
Boy,
Mike.
oh boy, Dave, he's starting to show so much more confidence every game on the offensive end.
A different player from game 1 now to game 29 for the Dolphins. Wright Downing goes left side. Nice move by Downing, and he gets the layup to go.
Yeah, and he was the force offensively for the Cavaliers in their championship game with 32 points in the MVP, his second basket of the night.
And Monroe, who did not come off the floor during the regular season meeting, is on the bench. It's important that Cabrini keep up the pace. Spencer to Taylor. Taylor thought about a jumper, now does from the baseline.
Yeah, Taylor tried to draw the foul. He didn't get the call, but able to hit the shot. He's been red hot tonight as well.
And there's a three-pointer by Foster. Long rebound up in the air. Spencer pulls it down. Here comes CSI perhaps looking to run. Now they slow it down to Taylor. Dolphins with a chance to build on their biggest lead of the game. It's 9 points. Taylor being fronted by Wright Downing. The opt-out to Savage. He was given space. Brocic, NBA three plus some more. No good. Latunji with the rebound, and he's fouled going up to the basket.
Boy, he's had some start of the game here tonight, Dave, for the Dolphins, and Dolphins playing extremely well and an opportunity to open up their lead to double digits for the first time here tonight.
9:05 remaining in the first half. Nobody underneath for the Dolphins. They'll leave Latunji alone. He's been good at the free throw line tonight. First one is up. It's good. And Latunji continues to hammer home on Cabrini. Monroe steps back in for the Cavaliers. He will replace Foster.
Just the kind of start you were looking for if you're a CSI Dolphin fan here tonight.
Our live statistical feed has gone out on us, so we're at the mercy now of whatever's in our head. And when it comes to stats, it's not much when we're trying to call the game. Wright Downing inside, opts out, gave it over to Bagwell. Bagwell steps into the paint. He opts out. And there's a long three misfired, and the rebound by Brocic. DJ Smith misfiring. He's the one who picked up the foul on the other end. Dolphins lead by 11 and have the basketball. This is Taylor. Receives a screen from Spencer. Taylor thought about going baseline, opts out. Brocic pulls in, and he is stripped of the ball by Smith. Smith gets caught up to by Stephen Flagg, and Flagg got too much of the hand on Trey Smith, the freshman guard. And that is the Dolphins' second or third team foul. I believe it's their third.
The Dolphins continue to come out and play with a good deal of confidence, that time turning the ball over. Cavaliers to inbound now, 8:31 remaining here in this first half.
Monroe throws it deep to Blassingale. Back to Monroe. Thought about a three. Steps over to Blassingale. Now Trey Smith with a three, and that one's good. Dolphins giving room to number 2, Trey Smith, and he buries it. So CSI's lead cut down to 8. 11 was their biggest. Latunji being given a little bit of space. Flagg controls. 10 on the shot clock. This is Flagg. Over to Spencer. 8 on the shot clock. Spencer going in, and there's the layup and the foul.
Boy, nice move that time by Spencer. You know, usually he gets most of his offense, Dave, right around the basket. A lot of garbage rebounds and putbacks, but a great move that time by Jay, taking it to the basket, drawing the foul, and opening the Dolphins' lead to 10 points once again.
You'd never know it looking at the box scores, Mike and Joe, but Jade Spencer really over these last couple of weeks and obviously during the CUNY tournament just absolutely dominating, doing so many little things. And there's another example of a little thing, Joe. The shot clock winding down, you're running out of options, you hit the hole, you make the basket, you get a chance to make it a three-point play.
And you have to love the way that this Dolphins team has been playing offensively. They've attacked the basket aggressively. You saw there Jade Spencer drawing the foul and converting on the and one. We saw earlier Adiola Latunji attack the rim in transition and draw the foul. And the Dolphins have also gotten it done from the outside. Latunji has had the mid-range jumper going. Mike and I, during past broadcasts, I know, have mentioned how big of a weapon that has been for him. And when he's knocking down shots from outside the painted area, it really opens up his game to attack the basket as well, something that we've seen him do successfully all season. The Dolphins right now are clicking on all cylinders offensively. And if you're a CSI fan, you have to love what you've seen thus far.
And, Mike, for Cabrini, they get a big three-pointer on their last trip down the floor, but they really haven't been hitting the paint the way they normally would like to.
Yeah, you know, they've struggled in really all areas, Dave. They haven't shot the ball well from the three-point line. They haven't hit a free throw yet, and they've been turning the ball over. And, you know, Dolphins playing well, getting great offensive production from Taylor and Latunji. They have a 10-point lead, and Spencer trying to complete the three-point play.
He's a 57% free throw shooter. That one rattles in and out, no good. So the lead stays at 10 here for the Dolphins. Cabrini with the basketball. This is Smith looking inside, opts out to Blassingale. Monroe buried in the corner, steps out, pull back three-pointer. He's short on it. Brocic tipping it up to Taylor, and he makes the play. And another rebound for the Dolphins, once again in the paint.
Yeah, I don't know about that shot selection by Monroe there, Dave. That's the third tough shot that he's taken so far here in the first half.
Easily the biggest player on the floor. This is Latunji with a long jumper. That one is good. Dolphins with their biggest lead.
Yeah, Adiola continuing to play lights out here, coming off of that big championship game in the CUNY Conference.
Long three-pointer attempted and a long rebound to boot as Bagwell catches up to that one. Blassingale back over to Bagwell. There's Monroe. Down low. He gets fronted by Spencer. Spencer's going to pick up the foul. But that's what Cabrini needs, Mike. You know, you have one of the nation's best scorers in Monroe, 6'7". He's got to get inside.
Yeah, and, you know, I thought that time Jade did a pretty good job defensively on him, too, as well, Dave. But unfortunately, Spencer gets called for the foul.
Have to think that Tim McDonald in his fourth season may have had that word for Taheem Monroe, who's now 0 for 3 from the free throw line, Joe.
And it's been a struggle for Cabrini at the charity stripe so far in this game. Haven't gotten there too often, but when they have, they haven't converted on those opportunities. Also, when they've forced turnovers, they haven't capitalized in transition. The Dolphins done a great job getting back defensively when they have made mistakes.
He is now 0 for 4 from the free throw line, and Latunji gets the board, and he's maybe was out of bounds, but there was some contact there too, Mike. But Cabrini gets a break, and like CSI, Mike, they've been able to take some advantage of miscues. Let's see if Cabrini can make it hurt.
Yeah, that's a big break that time for the Cavaliers.
Up top to Bagwell, down low to Monroe. He bangs bodies and gets the layup.
Boy, he just cleared out the defender that time and laid it up and in to cut the Dolphin lead down to 10.
This is Spencer, back over to Taylor. Taylor to Brocic. Dolphins work it quickly around, trying to break up that Cabrini zone that you see. This is Savage getting it over to Brocic. Now back over to Savage. Open look three for Savage. Bouncing around. No good. Rebound attempt won by Bagwell. And here comes Cabrini looking to start a run. It's Bagwell. Cross court. Way too strong and out of bounds. That's CSI basketball. No question about it. 6:24 remaining in the first half.
Yeah, another turnover that time for the Cavaliers will give the Dolphins the basketball with a 10-point lead.
See, now the press starting to form for Cabrini. They want to force some turnovers here. They give over to Brocic. Inside Latunji. He goes all the way. Blocked by Monroe. Spencer gets the rebound. He can't put it back. So here comes Monroe the other way. Cabrini, transition basketball. Lots of space for Monroe. He goes in. And Cabrini cuts the lead to 8.
Great defensive play by Monroe, followed by a great offensive play.
Cabrini working the press. Taylor spots up from the free throw line. It's good.
That time Taylor able to take advantage of the press and break that Cabrini run.
That's the risk you take when you start to press. Easy buckets the other way. Taylor makes it hurt. Right, Downing open underneath, and he gets the layup inside.
Yeah, the game's starting to open up a little bit, and that's really what Cabrini wants, Dave.
Interrupting that pass as now Rob Rossiter will get set to check back in for the Dolphins. He will replace Jade Spencer. Actually, he'll replace Eden Brocic. Eden, the only true 4-year senior for the Dolphins. Ray Savage, the other senior. He joined the Dolphins last year. This is Latunji now the other way. Crossing over, Smith gets by him. Monroe off the glass, no good. The putback by Spencer is good.
Spencer with one of those baskets underneath, grabs the rebound, lays it in. Dolphins by 10 once again.
And Monroe looked very upset defensively at some of his teammates that time, needing a little bit more help. Interrupted the first shot, couldn't interrupt the second. Blassingale, top of the arc, given space. Bagwell given space for three, no good. Long rebound, won by Monroe. Great spin move inside. Layup is no good. Goaltending was the call, and Dolphins will get the ball back with 4:58 to go. And a fresh 30 up by 10. You know, Mike, up by 8, I guess. We had the score wrong. Here comes a turnover. Cabrini the other way, right Downing, interrupted by Rossiter.
Good defensive play by Rossiter. If you're going to commit the foul in that situation, Dave, you want to make sure that the Cavaliers can't get the ball to the basket. So Rossiter will pick up the foul, and that will lead to free throws. But game's starting to change a little bit, turn a little bit, Dave, and Cabrini's starting to open the game up a little bit, put pressure on the Dolphins. Dolphins getting into their offense, getting out of sync a little bit, and Monroe starting to play a little bit better on both the offense and defensive ends.
For Rossiter, he picked up his second personal foul. Dolphins with 5 in the game. And the first free throw by Wright Downing is good. And Brocic will quickly replace Rossiter. Lead cut to 7 now, 33-26. Second free throw is long, no good. Offensive rebound. Won by Cabrini. Those are going to be a killer. Blassingale underneath and the foul.
Yeah, the Cavaliers starting to do a much better job rebounding the ball on the offensive and defensive end, and that Dolphin lead, Dave, has started to evaporate.
Yeah, and because of second chance points, Mike, as well, the Dolphins, remember on those 2 missed free throws by Tyheem Monroe, they ended up getting the offensive rebound on the second miss, making it count into a field goal, and now again 3 chances at the basket for Cabrini leads to points plus 1 more. And Mike, they don't play music during timeouts here, so you can literally hear, even through our headsets, TJ Tibbs giving it to his team right now. He wants some more movement on the glass.
Yeah, he's imploring the team to try to rebound the basketball a little bit better, and Dolphins got off to such a good start here tonight, rebounding the basketball. But like we say, Dave, you could feel the momentum turning a little bit, and Cabrini kind of changing the later stages of the first half into the kind of basketball game they want to play. As that free throw is up and in, and the Dolphin lead has been cut down to 4 now, 33-29. 4:40 remaining in the first half. Cabrini pressing once again, and once again the Dolphins turn it over, Dave.
Tip ball leads to a turnover. Down by 4 is Cabrini. They've cut a once 12-point lead down. Reverse layup by Bagwell is good, and we got a 1-possession game. Latunji closes in on that one. This is Savage. The press giving the Dolphins some problems and rebounding. But the Dolphins have a 2-point lead. Just over 4 to go. Taylor to Brocic. Thought about a 3. Opts out. Latunji. Baseline jumper. No good. And Spencer battling. Bagwell. Oh, and Spencer's going to get called for the foul on Bagwell. I don't know about that one. That was very close. Both guys battling for it. Momentum took Bagwell out of bounds.
Yeah, that was a tough foul that time on Spencer as he picks up his first. And an opportunity for the Cavaliers to come back and tie the game up, Dave. And Dolphins led in this game 25-14, so it's been a nice run here for the Cavaliers to get themselves right back into the game.
So Bagwell now with a chance. It's a 1-and-1 opportunity.
As Bagwell hits the first, and the Cavaliers find themselves trailing now by just a single point.
That free throw is good, and we have got ourselves a new ball game. It's 33-33, essentially 0-0.
19-8, Cavalier run.
2-on-1, Dolphins break down. Latunji off the glass, too strong, and the rebound won by Bagwell. Game certainly starting to shift. This is Smith for a 3, no good. Long rebound won by Latunji. He's going to be double teamed. Drops over to Taylor. Dolphins fouling Taylor was Anthony Wright Downing.
Dave, if you're the Cavaliers, you want to change this into a multi-possession game. You want to get as many possessions for each team as possible. You have to feel the way you've played all year long that, the percentages are in your favor. And Dolphins came out and, they had plays that they were running early in the first half. Cavaliers did a nice job. They went to the press, really shortened the length of the Dolphin possessions offensively, and have really, since they've been able to pick up the tempo on the defensive end, it's really triggered their offense as well.
Absolutely. So the Dolphins have to try and get off the snide here. 33-33. Mike and Joe, especially Joe, Dolphins really just haven't been getting a lot of shots off A lot of turnovers, a lot of offensive rebounds the other way. It's increasing the shot count for the Cavaliers.
And that's been what's changed for the Dolphins. They haven't been able to protect the basketball, and they haven't handled the full court pressure put on them by the Cavaliers well at all during this recent stretch. A big run for the Cavaliers, which has now seen them tie this game. Also during that run, Cabrini has been able to score inside at will. The Dolphins had great resistance around the rim earlier in this first half, but over the last several minutes, the Cavaliers have started to have their way inside, and that's been huge for them in this run, which has brought this game back to even at 33.
And I have the run at 10-0 in favor of Cabrini. And Christian Taylor with a chance here to put the Dolphins back on top. They have not trailed. In danger of falling behind. The first of a 1-and-1 is good, so Taylor makes it a 34-33 ball game with under 4 to go. That last timeout was a media timeout. Second free throw good by Christian Taylor, and the Dolphins back up by a deuce.
Yeah, nice job by Taylor to hit both free throws.
So it's Bagwell now controlling. Right Downing, Bagwell saw a lane, cuts in, right Downing left open. Bagwell again, dips into the paint, sidesteps everybody, and we have a travel violation on Bagwell. That was the second of 2 travels on that play, Mike.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. And the Dolphins doing a nice job forcing the turnover. And you know this is a quality Cavalier team, and they're going to make several runs throughout the course of the game. The key for the Dolphins is how are they going to respond for those to those runs. Let's see how they can do on this possession.
Once again, Cabrini pressing. It's Latunji. Cabrini does a nice job getting back from their press, not allowing Latunji space. But the Dolphins here a chance to go up by more than a possession with 3 minutes and change left. Taylor to Flag. Flag dripping inside to Bracic. Open 3, and that's good.
Yeah, Dolphins really needed that one, Dave, as Eden finally gets a three-pointer for the Dolphins. They open their lead to 5.
Dolphins were 1 of 11 from three-point range in the first half during the regular season. That was their first 3 of this one. Dolphins now amping up the defensive pressure, spilling that one out of bounds. We're under 3 minutes to play here in the first. So 18 on the shot clock. It is Smith controlling. Top of the arc. Right Downing inside. Looks like Spencer might have gotten a piece, but Monroe is there to clean things up. Unlucky bounce that time for the Dolphins as they were able to get the block right into the hands of Taheem Monroe. Dolphins skipping one over to Latunji. Top of the arc, Bracic, Taylor, Spencer, dipping inside. No good, as that one was short, and Bagwell collects the rebound. Down by 3, Bagwell's pass is intercepted by Christian Taylor. Taylor stepping inside, short jumper, too strong, out of bounds. Last touched by the Cavaliers, and Blassingale was the last to tip it. 2:14 to go in the first half.
Beautiful defensive play that time by Taylor, anticipating the pass. Dolphins get to inbound the basketball with a fresh 30-second clock.
Flag up top to Spencer, giving over to Bracic, and now the Dolphins will reset completely with Taylor at the top.
Yeah, if you're the Dolphins, Dave, no hurries. TJ Tibbs asking Taylor to slow the offensive down here.
Christian Taylor with 15 on the shot clock. Now begins to pedal forward. Receives a screen from Spencer. Taylor to Bracic. Thought about a 3. Opts over to Taylor. Back to Bracic for 3. Too strong. Long rebound, and it's a push by Christian Taylor. I think that's a good call.
I think he did commit the push, but I thought the whistle took a long time to come in. So Taylor will pick up the personal. That'll be his first, the team's 8th. So that'll be a 1-and-1 opportunity coming up for the Cavaliers.
So big free throws here. It will be number 23, Darryl Bagwell. 1-and-1. First one will dictate whether the second one gets attempted. Bagwell, 66% from the free throw line. First is good. Dolphins back up by 2. They led by as many as 11 here in this first half. A 10-0 run tied it at 33. Since then, the Dolphins have been able to keep Cabrini at bay, but they have dipped the lead down to 1. 1:40 remaining in the first half. Dolphins lead by 1. They've never trailed. Spencer now hands off to Flagg, up top to Bracic. Latunji, Taylor looking for some options to Latunji off the glass. No good, too strong. Ball bouncing around. Giving up. Cavaliers. Nice job by Monroe to get to it. Bagwell opts out for Smith. Smith drives baseline. That shot was blocked. I'm not sure by Spencer or by the backboard. Either way, here comes Flagg. Flagg working 1 against 2. Off the glass and in.
Beautiful offensive move by Stephen Flagg. Less than a minute in the first half.
Dolphins back up by 3, getting the benefits there of a Cabrini miss that once again could have put them up. This is Blassingale given a lane inside left-handed. Once again, down by 1 is Cabrini with 40 seconds to go. There's a 13-second differential between game and shot. 20 on the shot clock. Taylor exploring some options. Gets instructions from TJ Tibbs. Now works right side. Goes to the left. Almost had his pocket pick. Finds Flagg in the corner. 5 on the shot clock. Flagg to Spencer. Spencer, long range, 2, no good. And the rebound won by Cabrini with a chance to take the lead, Mike, here to finish off the first half. We are under 10. This is Bagwell. Receives a screen. Bagwell in the corner to Monroe for 3, no good. Bracic all the way down the horn, no good. And the Dolphins will take a 1-point lead into the locker room.
Nice defensive stop by the Dolphins on the Cavalier last possession to go into the lead at halftime, 40-39. Good half for the Dolphins, Dave. They've led by as many as 11 in this one, going to halftime with a 1-point lead.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard, Joe, at this point to figure out if you're going into the locker room as the Dolphins. Are you happy? Are you excited? Or are you a little bit disenchanted? The Dolphins up by 11 had a chance to really insert some daggers there, but it was that press that Cabrini employed that really started to manipulate the game. And instead of the Dolphins being up potentially by double digits, they're only taking a 1-point lead into the locker room.
Well, during that last huddle the Dolphins took during the previous timeout, TJ Tibbs was calling out his team for being soft. You could hear that over our microphones. As you mentioned, no music played during the timeouts here. So during that timeout, we heard TJ Tibbs calling his team soft. He wanted them to get after it on the defensive boards. He wanted them to be more physical defensively. And during the final minutes of that half, about really the final 9 or 10 minutes of that first half, the Dolphins allowed a lot more inside, many more easy opportunities for the Cavaliers to close out that first half, as opposed to how hard they had to work for opportunities at the offensive end earlier in the first half. So if you're the Dolphins, I think overall you are pleased with that first half. You are taking a lead against a nationally ranked team into the second half, but you do have to be a bit disappointed on the flip side that lead is only a single point. The Dolphins at one point, I believe, led by as much as 11 in that first half. So to take only a 1-point lead into half number 2 may be a bit disappointing, but you don't want to become overly discouraged by that number. It was still a strong half for the College of Staten Island.
And Mike, as Joe said, still a relatively strong half by the College of Staten Island. They walk into an opponent's building. They're ranked 22nd in the nation, and the Dolphins really led from start to finish, Mike. 20 minutes left. It's anybody's ball game. It may as well just be tied at this point, but solid footing for the Dolphins and an awful good start.
Yeah, it is a good start for the Dolphins. Really the vast majority of the Dolphins' offense in that first half coming from Christian Taylor and Adiola Latunji. And, Dave, for the Dolphins to be able to come out and finish the Cavaliers off here in the second half, they're going to need some offensive production from a couple of other players. Eden Bracic, very quiet. I think he just had 1 3-pointer in that first half. Stephen Flagg, the Dolphins need a little bit more production out of Stephen as well. And, Joe, Rob Rossiter and Ray Savage also looking for their first points. Dolphins need a little bit more offense from them as well.
Well, Rossiter was held scoreless due in part to him being in foul trouble in that first half. He entered the game for Eden Bracic at one point during that first half and then was promptly removed from the game after picking up his second personal foul. We actually just received the halftime statistics for both teams. Taking a look at the numbers, both teams shot pretty well from the field. The Dolphins 16 of 38, Cabrini 15 of 33. Of course, we don't have the stats minute by minute printed out for us, but early in that first half, Cabrini shot the ball very poorly, really picked it up later in that first half. Both teams exceptionally poor from beyond the arc. The Dolphins 1 of 10. Cabrini 3 of 13 from the foul line. CSI 7 of 9. Cabrini 6 of 13. We mentioned that as a stat to look at during our pregame. Teams often get to the free throw line a lot against this Dolphins team. The Cavaliers took 13 free throws, only connecting on 6 of them. We also highlighted the rebounding battle. The Dolphins win that by a 23-22 rebounding margin, only a +1 for the Dolphins, but still a victory on the boards nonetheless. So the Dolphins did some good things in that first half. Still more to be improved upon in the second half.
And, it's hard to interpret stats like these, Mike, because nothing really jumps out at you, and the Dolphins only have that 1-point lead. But obviously one of the things they've done well is they have protected the basketball, even with Cabrini, pressing. Only 6 turnovers. That puts them on pace for 12. That's a comfortable number for head coach T.J. Tibbs and the Dolphins. 0 is a better number, but of course that's a number they can probably live with. And Cabrini with the 9 turnovers is a big one. But as Joe mentioned, the Dolphins just 1 of 10 from beyond the arc. That is a strength of this CSI Dolphins team. They do take a lot of three-pointers. Just over a quarter of their shots were three-pointers, and they only hit the 1. So that's a statistic that if you're TJ Tibbs, if you're the CSI Dolphins, you need to improve on in the second half.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Dave. They need to do better from the three-point line in the second half. They need more offensive production out of Ray Savage, Rob Rossiter, and Stephen Flagg in that second half. I think Jade Spencer also, Dave, deserves some recognition, playing a great first half for the Dolphins here tonight. 7 rebounds for Jade, playing very well. Very good defense against a stronger, bigger Cavalier team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Adiola Latunji, Joe, he's the one who really steps out at you on this CSI box score, especially early in the game. 6 of 12 from the floor, but early in the game he really paced the Dolphins, and 17 points in the first half. Joe, he was held to just 10 during the regular season meeting.
And he got it done from the free throw line as well, knocking down 5 of his 6 attempts from the charity stripe, in stark contrast to what the Cavaliers did in that first half. As I mentioned before, Cabrini shooting only 6 of 13 from the free throw line. But if you're the Dolphins, the shooting percentage overall for the Cavaliers is a number that I think has to be the most disappointing number. Though you did hold them to just under 46% shooting, below their season's average, they started off in this game shooting the ball so poorly that looking at that number, 15 of 33, has to be disappointing going into the halftime locker room. The Dolphins did a great job forcing turnovers early in that first half, so the Cavaliers couldn't get as many shot attempts up. But the Dolphins' defensive intensity definitely took a dip later in that first half. For about the last 9 or 10 minutes, that allowed the Cavaliers back into this game. And if Cabrini is scoring at the pace that they did for about the last 9 or 10 minutes of that first half, and the Dolphins continue to shoot poorly from beyond the arc, I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep up with the scoring pace set by the Cavaliers in the final 10 minutes of that first half.
We want to thank the 777 of you who are checking us out tonight here, our highest output of the season. So we thank you for joining us here. NCAA Division III first round basketball, 64 teams in action, and that'll be cut down to 32 by the end of this evening. Springfield punched their ticket in, Mike, earlier tonight. The winner of this game will play Springfield in the second round of the tournament, which will take place right here. No matter who wins this game, the game will be played at Cabrini. 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We will be here should CSI advance. But we saw a pretty good first game here tonight.
Yeah, it was a very good first game, Dave, between two good teams, Albright and Springfield. And, Springfield kept pulling away. And, even in the later stages of the second half, they opened their lead to double digits again, but you got to give Albright credit. They kept battling back and cutting down the deficit, and actually had a chance to win the game at the buzzer. But unfortunately for Albright, they couldn't hit the three-pointer, so Springfield was able to advance, and they're waiting for the winner of tonight's game between the Dolphins and the Cavaliers. And there's a big nor'easter blowing outside in Staten Island, looking to blow Cabrini out of the gym here in the second half.
Yeah, they were starting to look that way. The Dolphins were up 21-12 at one point. They ended up going up by 11, but it was really those early stages that the Dolphins were downright dominating this game. And you know what, Mike? One of the reasons why they were is they were really holding Taheem Monroe outside of the paint. And, you know, he was opting for three-pointers. He was opting for longer twos, some teardrop jumpers in the paint. It wasn't until the 6-7 minute mark where he really made it an emphasis to pound it into the hole.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, Dave. I thought that outside three-pointer, that he really got that friendly roll, that 3 or 4 bouncer off the rim, really got him going. And then you're right, Dave. He really started exploding to the rim on the offensive end and really picking up the pace. A couple of blocks on the defensive end as well. Started to play much better, and still struggled with his shooting early in the first half. Still shoots over 50%. Still has 13 points and 8 rebounds, and that's the mark of a great player.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna bring up, Joe, is the fact that, again, for the second time this season, the Dolphins have kept Taheem Monroe relatively in check. But here he is at halftime, and he's almost got a double-double, 13 points, 8 rebounds. But really, players like Daryl Bagwell, even though 4 of his 8 points came at the free throw line, aside from him, Cabrini as a team just 2 of 9 from the free throw line. That's a statistic that has to improve. But Bagwell is holding his own.
And the issues that plagued the Dolphins in that first half really began beyond the midway point of that first half. You mentioned Taheem Monroe scoring 13 points to go along with 8 rebounds in that first half. Much of his scoring came beyond the midway point of that first half. Also, the Dolphins only committed 6 turnovers in that first half. Many of them came as a product of the full court press, which the Cavaliers implemented beyond the midway point of that first half once they found themselves down by double digits. So if the Dolphins can correct those issues that really hurt them late in the first half, they could find themselves building back toward a double-digit lead, and hopefully for them, a victory in this game. The issues they had, easily correctable. Protect the basketball and contain Taheem Monroe, because right now there's no other Cavalier who's in double figures. Of course, we are only at halftime. There have been other contributors, those players getting to the free throw line quite a bit. You mentioned the free throw shooting for the Cavaliers in that first half. Not very good. Here in the second half, the Dolphins will hope to limit the free throw attempts by Cabrini, limit their own turnovers, and contain Taheem Monroe, and that should be a recipe for success in half number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dolphins, we're about 5 minutes out. You can see it on your screen. The Dolphins 5 minutes away from getting things started here in the second half. The Dolphins have not trailed in this game. But, again, Cabrini on familiar territory, guys. Against the CSI Dolphins last year, CSI had as much as a 9-point lead. Cabrini ended up with a big second half, winning that game. And then during the regular season meeting, the Dolphins led by a more modest 5 points in the first half. Cabrini ended up coming back, leading by as many as 10 in the second half. CSI made the comeback, took a 2-point lead inside of 90 seconds left, but Cabrini ultimately got the better of them. But Mike, one of the things that Joe said during the pregame was that in the regular season meeting, the Dolphins actually played a better second half than they did a first half, shooting the ball and scoring and rebounding. So they need that type of effort here in the second half, and they've been good in second halves this year.
Yeah, they have been, and, they're coming off of that big second half against Lehman College in the CUNYAC Championship, and, that game went right down to the wire, Dave, and, both teams have had an opportunity, but the Dolphins found a way to defeat a team that had defeated them in 2 close games earlier in the season. Dolphins looking to repeat that same recipe here against the Cavaliers tonight.
So we are just over 3 minutes to go here for the second half. We've been bringing it to you commercial-free. David Pizzuto alongside Mike Babuski and Joe Foreman. Guys, you gave me your keys to the game during pregame. Now that the game has been fleshed out a little bit, now that both teams have achieved a little bit more of a comfort zone, what do the Dolphins have to do, Mike, in these next 40 minutes to make sure that this 1-point lead stands?
Well, I think it's fair to say that you're going to see more of that Cavalier press in the second half, and Dolphins are going to have to find a way to deal with that a little bit better. And, the other thing that the Cavaliers like to do with that press, Dave, is they want to get into the Dolphins taking 8 seconds of the possession or 10 seconds in a possession. I think if you're the Dolphins, Dave, you want to take more like 20, 23 seconds in a possession and try to slow the game down a little bit and not get into a back-and-forth shooting contest with a team that shoots nearly 48% from the field.
And, Joe, the Cavaliers did a nice job of cutting what was an 11-point lead all the way down to 1, obviously winning the home stretch of that first half. What do they have to do to kind of take it all the way back and win the second half and win the ball game?
If they continue pressuring the ball handler for the Dolphins and force the turnovers that the Dolphins committed late in that first half, that could go a long way in getting them some easy transition opportunities, or at the very least drawing a foul in transition to get to the free throw line. But in order to capitalize on those opportunities at the line, they actually have to make their free throws. So that's something else the Cavaliers could do in half number 2 to help get them over the hump and back in front of the Dolphins. And lastly, continue to feed Taheem Monroe. He got very hot late in that first half, and the Dolphins didn't seem to have an answer for him inside after really keeping him at bay for the first 10 minutes of the game. So the Dolphins need to contain Monroe, avoid committing fouls that put the Cavaliers on the line or at the line and into the bonus early. And if you're CSI, you have to protect the basketball. If you're the Cavaliers, feature Taheem Monroe, knock down your free throws, and continue to pressure the ball, hopefully force some turnovers.
Dolphins and Cavaliers keeping some late hours here in Radnor, Pennsylvania. This was one of the final games to tip off in the nation. Obviously, there's some West Coast games, that are tipping off as well a little bit later on for us. But the Dolphins, on their way. They're up by 1 point. We've had a little bit of everything here this evening. It took us about 3 hours and change to get down here with this winter weather that hit us in the Northeast. The first game of our doubleheader was delayed over 45 minutes, and then almost went into overtime with a feverish comeback by Albright, but it was Springfield taking a win over Albright. They are awaiting the winner of this game. Springfield was in the house watching this game for a little while, but they've gone home to get a good night's sleep. The game tomorrow night will be at 7 o'clock. We hope for better weather. We expect better weather. Maybe less down trees, Mike, on the way here, and hopefully we're back.
Yeah, Dolphins 20 minutes away from advancing into the second game of the NCAA tournament. It's been since 2012, Dave, that the Dolphins were able to win a game in the tournament. They put themselves in a pretty good position here going into halftime with a 1 point lead. But, we've said it before, Dave, the Dolphins are going to win here tonight. They're going to have to play better in the second half than they did in the first half.
All right, and they played pretty well in that first half. Let's see if the Dolphins can match it. 20 minutes have been put on the clock. We are almost ready to go. The Dolphins will have first possession. Dolphins will go with their same 5 starters, as will Cabrini here in this second half. It's Stephen Flagg controlling. He's been very quiet tonight. Brocic to Taylor. 3-point range. Taylor now moving left. Opts over to Rossiter. Rossiter with a 3. No good as it bounces around. And the Cavaliers now with another attempt to take the lead. Blassingale. Smith to Monroe underneath. Reverse layup is good. And the first lead of the game for the Cabrini Cavaliers. And they're now a +1.
Yeah, Dolphins now 1 of 11 from the 3-point line.
Brocic cuts in to Flagg. Flagg to Taylor. Thought about a 3. Penetrates inside. Latunji on the baseline, and he will backpedal out. 10 on the shot clock. Taylor fakes left, goes right, gives over to Flagg. 5 on the shot clock. Flagg spots up. Long jumper, no good. Rebound, won by Bagwell. Here come the Cavaliers, looking to run. 3/4 speed up the floor. It's Monroe giving over to Smith. Smith fakes the 3. Goes back to the 3. It's good.
Yeah, Cabrini started to get their sea legs under them. They get off to a good start. All 5 points here in the second half.
Oh, just like that. Dolphins lead interrupted and now are down by 2 possessions. Latunji over to Brocic. Brocic given a little bit of space. Now inside give to Latunji. That layup is good. Nice move by Adiola.
Yeah, good move by Latunji to bring the Dolphins back to within a bucket.
44-42. Nice entry pass that time by Brocic as well. Blassingale controls. He's been quiet. Now this is DJ Smith for 3.
All of a sudden the Cavaliers hit 2 consecutive 3-point shots. They've hit all 3 of their shots, Dave, here in the second half.
Yeah, neither team was particularly good from 3-point range. Cabrini was 3 for 10. Now they're 5 for 12. And they have their biggest lead of the game. It's 5 points. We are now 2 minutes into the second half. Latunji to Brocic. They go around the world. Flagg and Taylor. Taylor looking to cut in. Does. Off the glass, and it's good.
Taylor determined to take that one to the rim. Banks it home.
Like he's done over the last week or so. This is Monroe now. Pulls back for a jumper. No good, but he was interrupted. I believe that's going to be on Rossiter. And if it is, it will be his third. It will be.
And Rossiter, no points here this afternoon, Dave. 0 for 2, both from the three-point line. Now picks up another personal foul. And
meanwhile, Monroe is 0 for 4 from the line tonight. He's 0 for 5.
That one wasn't even close, Dave. He really short-armed that one.
Yep. Now thinking about it too much, Tyhe Monroe, one of the best players in the NCAA, senior forward from Philadelphia, only charter high school. He's been a huge impact on this team. He's looking to win his first NCAA game. He's 0 for 6 from the line. And that one is out of play, and Monroe cleans it up.
Boy, it sure looked like there was a foul on that play that was not called, and then the Dolphins turn it over. And danger moment of the game here, Dave, for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and this is where Cabrini has been able to take advantage on those rebounds that the Cavaliers have interrupted. That time, maybe a foul that wasn't called. This is Blassingale inside. Great move to the hole, and now it's Cabrini up by 7.
Yeah, and the Dolphin defense, Dave, just evaporating here in the second half. Cabrini having their way, leading by 7.
Yeah, they have 12 points here in the first 2.5 minutes. This is Taylor underneath. No good, but he will go to the free throw line. And that'll be against number 2, Trey Smith. That'll be his second personal. Taylor's 2 for 2 from the free throw line. Dolphins as a team shooting well from the line. 7 of 9 in the first half. Cabrini just 6 of 15 from the stripe. Taylor makes the first.
Yeah, Dolphins close to within 6. But Cabrini likes that wide open game with a lot of offense, Dave. And they've been able to come out strong here in the second half.
Taylor makes both of his free throws. Dolphins down by 5, but could use some defensive stops and some rebounds. Bagwell gives over to Blassingale. Blassingale opts over to Smith. DJ Smith to Monroe. Monroe penetrates inside, and he's going to get fouled before the shot attempt. It'll be on Brocic. He's accepted ownership of the foul. That might be his third. It will be his second. Apologize. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Monroe goes up top to Bagwell. Inside to Monroe. Bagwell and Monroe off the glass and in.
Yeah, nice soft touch by Monroe as he continues. And once again, Cabrini up by 7.
Dolphins down by 7 here with possession. Taylor cutting inside. Wants a screen, opts out to Flagg. Flagg penetrates inside against 3 defenders. His layup just a bit too strong. And it's Bagwell now to Smith. Smith for 3, it's good.
And you knew there was going to be a hot spot in the game for the Cavaliers. They've come out here in the second half absolutely red hot. They've already scored, Dave, 17 points in the first 3 minutes and 38 seconds of the second half.
And it's been the three-pointer that has just fallen here for Cabrini. They are 3 for 3 from beyond the arc after 3 for 10 in the first half. Mike, the Dolphins have been down this road before. They don't panic. They were down by 10 during the regular season to Cabrini. They came all the way back and took the lead in the waning moments. What do you have to do now to get control?
Well, you know, the first thing they're going to have to do is stop this Cavalier offense. And then the second thing they're going to have to do is get points from somebody other than Kristen Taylor and Adiola Latunji. And, you know, Stephen Flagg had a couple of opportunities, and he just can't get the basketball to fall. Rossiter's on the bench with 3 fouls, Ed with just 1 3-pointer, and Dolphins with just 1 3-pointer on the afternoon, Dave, and it's not going to be enough here in the second half. The Dolphins are going to have to shoot the ball better on the offensive end and defend much better on the defensive end.
One advantage that the Dolphins have, 16:22 left on the clock, Joe. Plenty of time for the Dolphins to get this thing together.
And the Dolphins already have the blueprint for success in this game. What they did earlier in that first half is exactly what they need to do to get back into this game. If they can replicate that effort from early in the first half, they should have no problem closing this 10-point gap. Still plenty of time left on the clock.
Yeah, and it will take some defensive stops, as Mike mentioned, but they'll need some points. They have 6 in this first 3+ minutes, but 17 for Cabrini, difference of 11. Latunji up top over everyone. Another turnover for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and the Dolphins with just 6 turnovers in the first half, Dave. I believe they have 3 here so far in the second half. And, you know, Cabrini turned the ball over. Most of their 9 turnovers in the first half occurred during the first half of that first half. They've really stopped turning the ball over as well.
It's Bagwell for 3, no good, and Taylor gets the rebound. That was a big miss for the Dolphins. See if they can take advantage here. Taylor, nice move inside, and the lazy layup is good.
He's been the offense in the second half for the Dolphins.
Big swing that time with the missed 3 for Cabrini, their first miss of the second half. This is Blassingale for 3.
Yeah, they're really starting to feel it, Dave, here on their home floor, and they open their lead to 11.
Blassingale doesn't miss many threes. He certainly doesn't miss many when he's wide open. Taylor back inside. He's going to get fouled going up. Looks like Bagwell might get called for it. Actually, it will be on number 5, Tyheem Monroe. So for Monroe, that will be his second. And with under 16 minutes to play, we will have another media timeout. So Monroe picks up the foul. Taylor will go to the free throw line when we come back, but the Dolphins find themselves down by 11.
Yeah, you know, Dave, the Dolphins, that matches the biggest lead of the game. The Dolphins led this one by 11, 25-14, with 8.5 minutes left in the first half. But since then, it's been Cabrini outscoring the Dolphins 45-23 to turn around that 11-point Dolphin lead and take an 11-point lead of their own.
Yeah, and it was 33-23 at one point, too, Mike. The Dolphins were up by 10 at that point. Cabrini made that 10-0 run. And you know what, Joe? Do these stoppages help or hurt Cabrini right now, which has been on fire here from the floor? Now with this break, is that a negative for the Cavaliers?
It very well could be, but the way things have gone for the Dolphins offensively right now, they need another player aside from Christian Taylor to step up at the offensive end. I doubt he'll be able to carry them all the way back in this game as the team now trails by 11 points. The Dolphins can only hope that this latest media timeout will slow down Cabrini, but the way they've shot the ball here in the second half, there's no indication that this timeout will slow them down at all. It's been a variety of different players getting it done for the Cavaliers at the offensive end. Well, right now the Dolphins only have one player who's converting on his opportunities. That player is at the line right now, Christian Taylor.
Yeah, and Taylor is 4 for 4 from the free throw line, make it 5 for 5. Dolphins have been good from the line. They're now 10 of 12.
Cabrini now 8 of 9 from the field, Dave, in the second half.
Yep, you can do the math, 89%. And the Dolphins here in the second half, just 3 for 6. And we have a quick whistle here as perhaps a clock issue. But we saw also since the half, the Dolphins with 3 turnovers, Cabrini with none. So the turnovers are now even at 9 apiece.
Boy, I'm looking at the official stats, Dave. Just 1 block apiece per team. That's not right.
Yeah, we've seen a couple more than that, but easy to miss. But it's the three-point shooting that really stands out at this point. Cabrini 7 of 18 from beyond the arc. That's good for 39%. And the Dolphins now 1 for 11 from three-point range. That is 9%. And both of these teams shoot 35% for the season. So they have identical percentages from the three-point line. And you look at the difference in the points, that's where the difference really right now is located. Wright Downing travels.
Yeah, Dave, and, you know, that's going to be the 10th turnover for the Cavaliers, and the Dolphins have just 9, but the Cavaliers have gotten 15 points off the Dolphin turnovers. Dolphins with just 8 points off of the Cavalier turnovers.
So Dolphins slowing things down here. They have a chance to abridge the lead here for the Cavaliers. Bracic up top to flag. You see the good perimeter defense there by Blassingale. It's Flagg going inside. He puts one up off the glass, way too strong. Spencer's putback is no good, and Wright Downing will collect. Inside Blassingale, and his pass is tipped and blocked away. This is Taylor the other way. Taylor's shot blocked by Bagwell, but he's going to get whistled for the foul. Believe that it's going to be the third on Bagwell, not sure.
Nice defensive play by Bagwell, Dave, as that'll be his second. And, once again, if you're going to foul a player going up to the basket, you got to make sure he doesn't lay it in. Nice job by Bagwell on that play defensively for the Cavaliers.
Christian Taylor once again at the free throw line, misses the first of the evening after going 6 for his first 6. In the regular season meeting, the Dolphins also started 1 for 11 from beyond the arc. They ended up finishing 3 of 8 down the stretch. And there's a lane violation. And, man, you do not see that, Mike, when there's nobody in the lane for the Dolphins. So Taylor's going to get that shot back. And it rattles in.
Yeah, just a little bit of careless that time by the Cavaliers. Front end of 2 free throws, so there's no rebound anyway.
Yeah.
So let's see if the Dolphins can take advantage and get an extra point.
That'll be important down the stretch, is how teams take advantage of mistakes. The Dolphins just took advantage of one there. They've cut an 11-point deficit down to 7. They got a ways to go, but an eternity of time left in this one. 14-40. It's Bagwell controlling to Monroe. Monroe around the horn, almost intercepted. It's Blassingale. Now down low to Wright Downing. His layup is good.
Nice play that time by Wright Downing. Not panicking under the basket and laying it up and in.
And Mike Doyle, who had came in, gave him the pass. He was left open after the Taylor scramble for the interception. This is Latunji. Baseline to Taylor. Taylor with the teardrop jumper. That's good from just outside the paint.
Taylor continues to be the Dolphin offense here in the second half.
Doyle gives it up to Bagwell inside. Bagwell finds Wright Downing underneath. Great play by Bagwell to find Wright Downing.
Yeah, second time in a row, Wright Downing able to find himself underneath the basket to lay it in.
Now Taylor spinning inside. He gets it to go. Back and forth they go. 63-56, 13-40 remaining. This is Bagwell, as he does most times, controlling. Doyle thought about a 3. Penetrates inside. Other side to Blassingale. Spots up for 3. No good. Long rebound. 1 by Wright Downing. Inside layup is good.
3 layups in a row for Wright Downing on 3 consecutive Cavalier possessions. They lead by 9.
9 second chance points for the Cavaliers tonight. This is Taylor all the way in, and he's going to get whistled for a travel violation. I think he expected Monroe to go up. Monroe did not bite on that one. And coming in now will be Brett Foster for Cabrini. And Rossiter with 3 fouls will enter to replace Stephen Flagg.
Ray Savage also in the game, Dave, for the Dolphins. And
replacing Latunji. Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, if the Dolphins are going to get their way back into the game, Rossiter, Savage, and Bracic need to be effective offensively. Offensive foul. Sorry,
offensive foul, yeah, on the screen by Foster. So Foster picks up the foul. And a turnover here for Cabrini will give the ball back to the Dolphins. Just over 13 minutes to play here in regulation. The Dolphins down by 9. They led for the entire first half. There were a couple ties. They took a 1-point lead into the second. Cabrini's been on fire ever since. Bracic is going to get fouled by Doyle, who was late on the cut move. And that'll be Cabrini's 5th team foul here in the first 7:07. Second on Doyle. 20 seconds on the shot clock after the reset via the foul. Bracic up top to Savage. Savage baseline to Bracic. Spot up. 3-pointer. No good. Halfway home. Rims out.
Yeah, Dolphins just can't get that big 3-pointer to fall.
And we have a whistle here underneath. Looks like Savage might have tangled with Doyle. Doyle laughs it off. 12:40 to go with 23 seconds on the shot clock. And it's going to be Rigo Destime. His first action here, his first NCAA game. Monroe looks underneath, now opts long. This is Monroe, given space by Bracic. Monroe back towards Eden, continues to back him in, interfered with, and it's out of play. Last touch by Monroe, and they're going to whistle this one in favor of Cabrini.
Yeah, we'll see if that holds, Dave.
I think that's the right call. It looked like Monroe had the ball kind of jarred loose by both Rossiter and Bracic. Yeah. Unlucky break for the Dolphins, but I think that's the right call.
Yeah, back official making the right call on the play.
Monroe, once again, has to go up top to find Foster. Foster dribbles right, looks down low to Monroe. Nice feed inside to Wright Downing. He draws contact, and that will be CSI ball as Wright Monroe got a fingertip on it.
So the Dolphins get a defensive stop, Dave. Let's see if they can climb back down from 9 as the clock runs down to 12:15.
The question now becomes, does somebody not named Christian Taylor get in the scoring column here for the Dolphins? Dolphins getting very little offensive production from anyone but. And this is Taylor inside. Rossiter, baseline 3, no good. In and out. Put back, no good by Spencer. That pass was blocked. He wanted a foul. Won't get one. Foster goes inside the hole, and there's the layup.
Dolphins now 1 for 13 from the three-point line, including 0 for 3 here in the second half. As they fall behind by 11, that's the Cavaliers' largest lead of the game.
Yeah, they've matched it now. And that was a delay of game warning issued to Brett Foster. So it was 11 points. The Dolphins had knocked it down to 7 at one point. And now it's going to be a media timeout with under 12 to play. 11:55 to go. And it's getting late a little early here. The Dolphins need a run.
Yeah, they certainly do, Dave. And, you know, this is a big game not only for the Dolphins but for the CUNYAC Conference as well. And, you know, it's funny, but Brooklyn College played Cabrini down the road in Scranton, and they dropped their game here earlier tonight. So the only CUNYAC team still on their feet in the tournament right now is the CSI Dolphins. And, Dave, they're going to have to fight their way back down 11 with just under 12 minutes remaining.
Yeah, so the Dolphins have been down this road before. They have trailed and have been able to come back. These timeouts usually do work to their benefits, but they just haven't been able to get the big shot, Joe, here in the second half.
And they really need to start connecting from beyond the arc. They've had some good opportunities as recently as a possession or two ago when Rob Rossler had a good open look in the left corner. It was halfway down, but that shot did not fall, and the Dolphins simply haven't been able to knock down the big three-pointer, as Mike mentioned before, and that's something that they're probably going to need now down the stretch as they've fallen behind by 11 points. Three-point shooting is something they improved on a great deal in the second half of their first meeting against the Cavaliers. They'll need to knock down some three-pointers here tonight, not only to get back into this game, but to at the very least keep pace with this Cabrini Cavaliers team that has come out shooting extremely well in the second half.
Dolphins have 16 second half points. Christian Taylor has 14 of them. Dolphins just need some offense here from someone other than Christian Taylor. Spencer, around the horn, Bracic and Staten. Rossiter has had a couple of three-pointers go in and out. Bracic for 3, no good. Offensive rebound, Spencer, his putback is good.
Big rebound by Spencer, but Bracic misses another 3. Dolphins now just 1 of 14 from the three-point line.
And there's a foul going up. Anthony Wright Downing, he will go to the free throw line. Dolphins 7% from three-point range, 1 of 14. That's their lowest output of the season. And Jade Spencer gets called for his 3rd foul for the Dolphins. And Wright Downing will go to the free throw line. He's just 1 for 4 here. This has not been Cabrini's strength tonight. This place is quiet as a church, and it offers Wright Downing a chance to drain that one to make it a 10-point game. Cabrini just 7 of 16 from the free throw line. That's only 44%. This is a team that shoots 70% from the line during the season. Wright Downing, 2 of 5 from the stripe. Big one here. Long rebound, won by Taylor. 11:20 to go. Dolphins down by an even 10. This is Taylor. Taylor driving, penetrating. Opts out to Staten. Staten Dribbles in, gets a Taylor. Baseline jumper, no good, it was short. And Bagwell gets the rebound. Bagwell being fronted by Desteam, given a lot of space. Bagwell inside, layup, no good. Short jumper, actually. Desteam gets the rebound. Under 11 to play. Desteam spots up, long two, it's good.
Yeah, Rigo struggled with his offense down the stretch of the season, but had a good game against Baruch and hits his first shot here tonight.
And Latunji, who was getting set to come in, now checks back over to the bench. Maybe he was coming in for Desteam. Anthony Wright Downing penetrates inside. That shot blocked by Desteam. And here comes Rossiter. 2-on-1 the other way with Taylor. The give from Rossiter, and that one's good.
Nice play by Rossiter to save the ball from going out of bounds and feed it to Taylor. Dolphins close to within 6.
Dolphins down by 6 and the bench erupting. This is Foster. Turns right. Gives baseline to Bagwell. Working on Desteam, who's been good defensively. Bagwell inside, give to Wright Downing. Shot was blocked by Spencer, but he's going to get called for the foul. That will be number 4 on Jade Spencer.
Boy, that time it looked to me, Dave, like Wright Downing just drove right into Spencer and forced the layup up, and Spencer reached down and got called for the foul. So an opportunity now for the Cavaliers to break the Dolphin run.
Adeola Latunji getting set to come back in along with Trey Smith, number 2. So the pair of twos getting set to check back in. Wright Downing with the free throw, no good, and he continues to struggle. He's 2 for 7 from the free throw line. Doyle will have a seat for the Cavaliers, and Spencer will do the same for CSI. Dolphins down by 6 with 10:08 to play. Big rebound if a miss happens here, with Latunji and Rossiter boxing out Monroe and Bagwell. That one short, and the rebound collected by Bracic.
Spencer playing very well, Dave. Forced to the bench now with 4 fouls. Let's see how the Dolphins react.
Cabrini, 38% from the free throw line tonight. This is Taylor gaining baseline. Jumper for 2, it's good.
Boy, he continues to be the Dolphin offense here in the second half.
We're under 10 to play, 9:45 to go. Dolphins down by 4. They trail by as many as 11. CSI crowd starting to get into it. Chance of defense. Now the give to Monroe. He works against Bracic. He's fouled by Rossiter. That'll be his 4th.
Yeah, that time Monroe spitting to the basket. He took it there hard, and the second Dolphin player now with 4 personal fouls will be Rob Rossiter. Bracic has 3 as well for the Dolphins.
And Monroe now steps to the line. He's had his struggles as well. He's 0 for 6 from the free throw line. Now 1 for 7. Hex broken. Makes it 69-64. Second of 2. No good, but the immediate putback by Bagwell, and another rebound, but he travels on that putback. I thought his actual back heel was on the line, Mike. Either way, Dolphins get a call, but 2 offensive rebounds via the missed free throw. Monroe now 1 for 8 from the free throw line.
Big break for the Dolphins. Let's see if they can take advantage of it.
Dolphins down by 5. Taylor, Latunji. Tries to gain baseline. And that's going to be a push by Wright Downing. That's a good call. He doesn't like it, but for Wright Downing, that'll be his 2nd personal foul. And CSI not yet in the bonus. The next foul will put either team in the bonus, both teams with 6.
Yeah, Dolphins doing a nice job keeping their composure on the road.
Desteam played well here in limited duty, giving it over to Taylor. Looking for contact. That's a gimme call. Sell by Wright Downing. TJ Tibbs doesn't like it. I don't either, Mike. You want to call Christian Taylor for a travel on that, I'll give it to you. But Wright Downing just bought himself a call that time. Hopefully the Dolphins can get that one back. 9:04 to go.
Yeah, that's a tough call, Dave. And, you know, I'm not sure Wright Downing ever really planted his feet on the play. And, you know, Cabrini has been able to take advantage of those kind of offensive moves here tonight. And now the Dolphins pick up another foul in the backcourt. And that might be on Bracic. It is.
That's his 3rd.
And it's his 3rd.
So that will be a 1-and-1 opportunity, and maybe not the worst thing, Mike, for a team that's had its struggles. But Bagwell's been good. He's 4 for 4 from the free throw line. The rest of the team is 4 for 17. Free throw's good.
And, that time, Dave, on the 1-and-1, Monroe really just shoved Latunji out of the way and really just moved him. And
you could see size giving up, and there's the rebound errant, and it goes into the hands of Bagwell.
Yeah, a couple of Dolphins had opportunities to grab the basketball. Neither one did. Another missed opportunity for the Dolphins.
Here comes the steal by Bracic the other way. The layup off the glass and in.
Yeah, and that's how to make up for not getting the basketball, force the turnover, and get the layup.
Now the Dolphins with a little bit of a lazy press. Bracic does have to be careful. He has 3 fouls here. You'd want to give Monroe a little bit more space than that. Monroe shields, drops it over to Bagwell. Dolphins down by 4, 8:30 to go in regulation. Bagwell crossing up, going right. Taking Desteem, inside give, right downing. Monroe for 3, no good, bounces around. Taylor with the rebound. Here comes Taylor, splits Monroe, driving inside, goes right off the glass and in.
Wow, what determination that time by Taylor, and that's going to force Cabrini to take a timeout. The Dolphins have cut the deficit all the way down to 2.
Timeout called by Cabrini, 8:12 remaining. Cabrini holding fast to a 2-point lead. And, Joe, you mentioned it the last time there was a break. Dolphins have been down this road before. They've stayed poised. They have the tools to come back. They're starting to mount that comeback.
And the Dolphins are once again demonstrating the composure that we saw from them down the stretch of this season. Played some very close games in win or go-home situations, most notably that game at the Tank against Brooklyn College in the opening quarterfinal round of the CUNYAC tournament. And they have found a way to come away with victories in those games. Hopefully tonight they can do the same. And right now they're only 2 points away from getting back even. They trailed by as many as 11 points here in the second half. They need to continue to play with the defensive intensity that we've seen. They've done a great job getting in the passing lanes, and when they've had opportunities at the offensive end, they're starting to convert. Christian Taylor with a phenomenal second half. They're also starting to get contributions elsewhere as well. So hopefully for the Dolphins, they can continue with this strong offensive and defensive effort, a complete effort over the past few minutes here in the second half.
And last time we had a timeout for media, Mike. This one's not a media timeout, but the last time we talked about how it might interrupt Cabrini's momentum. It certainly looked like it did.
Yeah, it did, and the Dolphins playing a little bit better on the defensive end. They got to secure their defensive rebounds a little bit better, but they've played well, and they need to continue to defend, getting themselves right back into the game with 8:10 remaining.
Dolphins still shooting just 1 of 14 from 3, but it's been offset by a miserable shooting night from the free throw line for Cabrini, 9 of 24. Almost a steal that time. Bagwell inside, and he gets the short layup to go.
Yeah, that time he posted up the bigger Desteem and got the basket to open the lead back to 4.
Taylor in the corner for Latunji for 3! A rare three-pointer by Adeola Latunji. You don't see that happen often.
That's only his 3rd three-pointer of the season.
Wow, 3 of 17. 3 of 18, actually. Trey Smith going to get fouled by Taylor going up. Almost got that one to go. Good response by Smith going to the hole. We haven't seen him do that a lot tonight. In fact, haven't seen a lot from Trey Smith much in this game. He does have 6 points, and this will be his first trip to the free throw line. Cabrini just 3 of 10 in this half from the line.
Trey is 74% free throw shooter. He's 25 of 34 on the season.
That first one is good, rattles in. Cabrini back up by a deuce. Stephen Flagg comes back in to replace Rigo Desteem, and what a 3-minute stretch for Rigo that he just had, 3+ minutes. That was sensational defensively. Made a jumper as well. 2nd of 2 for Smith. Bends at the knees, the put in is good, and Cabrini is up by a full possession here, a 3-point possession, 74-71. We have 7.5 minutes to go.
Dolphins need some big minutes down the stretch from Flagg, Dave.
Taylor over to Latunji. Latunji wants the hole and puts back, and it's going to be a travel violation. Latunji doesn't like the call. I'm 50-50 with that one, Mike. Looked like he may have bounced a little bit on that Step back.
Yeah, tough call and a big turnover. Dolphins need a defensive stop here after cutting the lead down to 1.
This is Bagwell giving some space, but has his pocket picked by Latunji. Latunji taking it himself. He gets stuffed by Blassingale, and the rebound goes the other way. Blassingale left open. Trey Smith for 3. It's good.
What a huge 5-point swing in the game, Dave.
Yeah, big time. Adeola Latunji had a chance to either drop it off or put that one in. Big block by Cabrini the other way. And Trey Smith with ice in his veins has now scored the last 5 for Cabrini. This is Brocic, thought about a 3, opts out to Smith. This is Taylor now, down by 6. Taylor with a huge second half. Dribbles in, he's gonna get fouled by Blassingale. The basket will not count. I don't believe it will count. No, underneath they call. And it will be it'll be 30 gets called for it. DJ Smith, the fellow freshman guard, one of 2 freshmen on the floor for Cabrini. Blassingale thought it was against him. He was protesting, and then the referee said, no, not on you.
So Spencer will come back onto the floor with 4 personal fouls. He'll replace Rob Rossiter. Rob very quiet on the offensive end tonight.
Taylor back at the free throw line. The first one is in. Friendly roll. Makes it a 5-point game with 6:26 to go. Possessions become important now as both teams down to 10, 11 possessions before this one is concluded here. Cabrini up by 4. They've led by as many as 11. The Dolphins have led by as many as 11. This is Bagwell. Receives a screen around the hall. Blassingale, he fumbles it a little bit. They're going to have a foul whistled. If it's against Spencer, it's his final 1. If it's against Taylor, I believe that's number 3. Let's see. It will be his 4th on Christian Taylor. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Dolphins finding themselves in all kind of foul trouble as that time Taylor gets called for his 4th.
So Blassingale will go to the free throw line. He is 1 for 1 tonight from the line. Cabrini has a team not shooting it well from here. The first is good. And it's a 5-point game once again. So hard now for the Dolphins to be aggressive defensively when you have Spencer with 4, Taylor with 4, Brocic with 3. We'll see how they elect to play it defensively. Until then, here is Taylor. His team down by 5. Taylor off his shin, and it's intercepted by Smith. He gives off to Trey Smith. Cabrini holds for time, down inside of 6 minutes to go. Cabrini is in the double bonus. This is Bagwell controlling. Looking inside to Monroe. He was open, puts it up, no good. Latunji with the rebound. Dolphins penetrate inside, off the glass, no good. He missed it badly, and Bagwell gets the rebound. 5.5 minutes to play. Bagwell gains the paint, interrupted by Brocic. Out of control was Bagwell. Brocic gives over to Flagg. Dolphins got to get a good shot here. This is Flagg. Crossing over Blassingale, off the glass, no good, and the rebound collected by Monroe. Dolphins growing cold from the floor.
Yeah, and that wasn't a good shot, Dave.
Smith taking time. That works in his favor. Stops, puts it underneath, off the glass, too strong, and another break for the Dolphins. This is Taylor looking to run. Brocic for 3, no good. And it is CSI ball. The Dolphins 1 for 15 from 3-point range.
Yeah, their 3-point shooting is really hurting them here in the second half. And on their last couple of possessions, they had Latunji miss a couple of inside layups. Not really good shots, Dave. And then Flagg took a wild shot in the lane. Dolphins need a good possession here.
It's Rossiter giving over to Flagg. Flagg rolling inside to Taylor, off the glass, no good, no contact, and Blassingale gets the rebound. Dolphins have been stuck on 73. 4:40 to go. It's Bagwell now controlling. He's given space by Taylor. Around the horn, Blassingale. He's a threat from there. DJ Smith, Bagwell, inside give baseline Monroe. They won't give him room. Fronted by Latunji. Inside, Trey Smith. It's out of bounds. Last touch by the Dolphins. 4 seconds left on the shot clock. And back into the game is Anthony Wright Downing. Was wondering where he was. Comes in for Smith. Spencer goes back in for Rob Rossiter. 78-73. Cabrini with the advantage. They go up top. They need a shot. This is Blassingale. Loses his defender. And it's going to be out of bounds, but it'll be a shot clock violation on Cabrini. Absolutely a shot clock violation on Cabrini. And it'll be Staten Island ball. My heart was in my throat there for a second, Mike. I thought they were going to reverse that and give possession to Cabrini, but Dolphins get new life. And Ray Savage checks in, Mike. And Ray Savage has not done much for the Dolphins at all tonight. 0 for 4 from the field. He's got no rebounds. He does have an assist, but he's in a big stretch here. The final 4 minutes. Latunji, Rossiter to Bracic. The give, Savage, they go around the horn. Great perimeter defense by Cabrini here. And we're going to have a media timeout here with 3:58 remaining. 14 on the shot clock. Mike, the Dolphins have been stuck at 73. How do they get off the snide?
Yeah, they've struggled, Dave. They haven't been really getting good looks at the basket. They've had a couple of wild runners in the lane and a miss by Flag. They've turned the ball over, and they really need to find a good shot. But, Joe, they've had opportunity after opportunity from the three-point line here in the second half. And other than the one that Adeola Latunji hit, they haven't been able to buy a basket.
The Dolphins' three-point shooting has been exceptionally poor in this game, but in the half court as well, they've taken far too little time on some of their possessions. Of course, there is a sense of urgency now, trailing by 5 with 4 minutes left, but there's still enough time to run your half-court offense. We've seen them force quite a few shots, not only in the half court, but also in transition. Adeola Latunji got it on the fast break on a pair of occasions and failed to convert on those opportunities. Possessions that went by the wayside for the Dolphins where much more could have been accomplished. So if you're the Dolphins right now, it's only a 2-possession game. You still have time to run your half-court offense. Don't force shots. And when you're in transition, if it's not there, again, run your half-court offense and try and score that way. There is still enough time to play a half-court game with 3:58 on the clock.
But score is important. The Dolphins haven't hit a field goal since 7:49 remaining in this half. That was the Adeola Latunji three-pointer. They've made a couple of free throws since then, but they have now not scored a basket in 4 minutes. Almost to the second. Taylor with the shot clock winding down. Short jumper, that's good.
Yeah, Taylor continues to be the only Dolphin offense that you can count on here in the second half.
Every time the Dolphins need a big shot, he is the one that they look to. And it's usually Monroe the other way. Blassingale, Trey Smith up top, right Downing. Pass to Monroe underneath, fronted by 2. Fadeaway jumper, no good, and Rossiter with the board. 3:20 remaining in regulation.
Big rebound there by Rossiter.
Taylor goes right, almost traveled. Bracic for 3!
Dolphins come all the way back from 11 points down to tie the game at 78.
3:05 remaining in regulation. Tie ball game, we're 0-0. Monroe, Blassingale. Up top, Trey Smith. Inside give to Wright Downing. Spins inside, off the back iron and in. Anthony Wright Downing hasn't played a tremendous amount. Has made some huge shots for the Cavaliers. 2:40 remaining. And then Bracic hit that last 3. He's been a sleeping giant. Taylor, baseline, 2-pointer, it's good. Ice in the veins of the sophomore. 2.5 minutes to go.
What a huge basket by Taylor. The Dolphins tied up once again.
It's Blassingale to Trey Smith. They work it down low to Monroe. He's got space. No good. Bracic with the foul. That'll be his 4th. Rossiter was in the neighborhood, and I'm going to give it on Rossiter. That'll be his 5th. And Rossiter has fouled out. I thought Bracic was the closer of the 2. No benefits of replay on our broadcast tonight, but it will be Rossiter who picks up the 5th. He has fouled out. So Rossiter's night is over for him. 0 for 3 from the floor. He had no points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, but a majority of the time, Mike, he was down low banging with with Monroe and Bagwell and Blassingale, and he did a good job defensively.
Yeah, he did, Dave, and I thought that was a tough call, and the final 2 minutes of a championship game, to me, that's a no call in that situation.
In any event, it's Monroe at the free throw line. It's been an adventure here for him. 1 for 8, 1 for 9 from the free throw line. Mike, he's a 70% free throw shooter. He's a senior, and this has just been a tough performance for him from the line.
There was a couple of big misses by Hernandez in that Lehman game in the championship down the stretch. A couple of big misses now for Monroe.
He's got 20, but he's missed 9 free throws. We are at 2:05 remaining. It's Christian Taylor. Who else? Top of the arc. Taylor wants to discuss it. Now front pedals. Crosses up Bagwell. Savage for 3! Timeout! Cabrini!
He hasn't hit a three-pointer all afternoon, but with 53 seconds remaining, Ray Savage gives the Dolphins a 3-point lead.
And, Mike, we mentioned these stoppages of play. They have hurt Cabrini, and now they call a 30-second timeout. And, Mike, probably the turning point of this game, the Dolphins were 0 for the floor for a good 4.5-minute stretch, and Cabrini could not insert the dagger.
Yeah, the Dolphins just kept hanging around. And, you mentioned, Dave, the Dolphins went almost 4 minutes without a basket coming down the stretch. But Cabrini couldn't take advantage of it. All of a sudden, a couple of made three-pointers in a row by the Dolphins have given them a 3-point lead with 1:53 seconds to go. So just like the first 2 times this team met earlier this year, Dolphins fell behind by 10, took a lead with less than 2 minutes remaining. Let's see what happens.
Dolphins started 1 for 15 from three-point range. They're 3 of their last 3. Trey Smith, inside give, right Downing. He was looking underneath. He puts one up and good. Cabrini has gone to right Downing down the moments. 90 seconds to go. Dolphins up by 1. Right Downing fronting up on Taylor. Taylor being barked at by his coach, TJ Tibbs. Right-handed dribble towards the right. 15 on the shot clock. It's Taylor. Long range 2. No good. Long rebound won by Blassingale. 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Cabrini down by 1. Blassingale, Bagwell, Trey Smith, inside give. Monroe from the free throw line. It's good.
What a big shot by the senior to re-give the Cavaliers the lead.
60 seconds to go. Cabrini has scored the final 4 points. It's 84-83. 50 seconds to go. 21 on the shot clock. Taylor starts off from the right. Receives the screen, gets into the lane, off the glass, too strong. Offensive rebound for the Dolphins. Right Downing couldn't control it. 41.5 to go.
Yeah, that time Taylor took it strong to the basket, couldn't hit the shot. Dolphins fortunate, the Cavaliers knock it out of bounds, so they'll have the basketball with a fresh 30-second shot clock.
Edin Bracic, he will do the inbounding. Gets it to Savage. Savage looks inside. Short jumper, no good. Monroe gets the rebound. There is a 7-second differential between the shot and the game clock. Timeout called by Cabrini. They want to discuss it. They want a good play, and they deserve it. And 28.3 on the game clock, 20 on the shot clock, so an 8.3 difference. Dolphins are going to get this ball back no matter what, so provided they get a rebound. If there's a miss, obviously, but they're down by 1.
Yeah, Dave, the Dolphins took a 83-80 lead with 1:53 seconds remaining on Ray Savage's first three-pointer of the game, but on their subsequent possessions, a miss by Christian Taylor and a miss by Savage, and now the Dolphins find themselves down 1. Cabrini still with the basketball, so Dolphins put themselves in prime position, Joe, but they need a stop here on this possession.
They absolutely need this stop, Mike. And even if they give up a 2-pointer, they're still only down by a single possession, of course. A 2 would make it a 3-point game. But if you're the Dolphins, you don't want to commit a foul here, especially around the rim, giving the opportunity for an and one. You also don't want to commit a foul, really, at any point now beyond this, with 20 seconds on the shot clock to allow Cabrini more time with the basketball and to take more time off the clock. The Dolphins should get another possession, as you mentioned, Dave. Of course, given that they rebound the basketball, that's something they've had issues with at times here in the second half. They need to close out this possession defensively with a board.
Of course, there are options here. The Dolphins could elect to foul. I mean, Cabrini is in the double bonus. I don't know if I would, but given how they've been shooting at the line, it might not be the worst idea.
Boy, if Taylor gets the ball, if Monroe gets the ball, Dave, I'd foul him before he shoots. Let him hit 2 from the line with the clock stopped.
Good thinking, except it's Jade Spencer who's guarding him, so he's got 4. This is Bagwell all the way to the hole. It's good on the foul.
Boy, oh boy, Dave, I didn't really see much contact there, and they got a big foul with 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, and now another foul that's going to foul out Jade Spencer, and there's going to be some contact in the lane in the games down the stretch, and Cabrini's been able to go to the line a couple of times, and the Dolphins have not.
Yeah, Bagwell is 5 of 6 from the free throw line, so he's been a bright spot here on this free throw line where the rest of the team has not. And because the Dolphins have a little bit of a reprieve here, they put Savage back in favor of Spencer. 15.4 to go. Cabrini in good control here. They can make it a 2-possession game. Nobody at the line to rebound for the Cavaliers. They're banking on this one. It's too strong by Bagwell. So here we go. And we have 10 to go. It's Taylor. Bracic, long range. 3! Timeout! 5.6 to go.
Boy, he made one of the biggest shots of the season, Dave, for the Dolphins in the CUNYAC tournament, but none bigger there. The senior steps up, drills a NBA three-pointer to tie the game with 5.6 seconds remaining. What a comeback here by the Dolphins. And Joe, every time you think that they're not going to be able to come back, that Cabrini's going to be able to stick the knife in, they're not able to do so, and Bracic made him pay.
The composure and the resilience of this Dolphins team is undeniable, and they have demonstrated that once again here tonight. Eden Bracic, the senior, does not want to see his career come to an end with this Dolphins team. He extended their season with a huge shot in the CUNYAC tournament against Brooklyn College at the Tank in the quarterfinal round, and here tonight, he prolongs their season at least another 5.6 seconds. The Dolphins need a stop. They committed the costly foul in the last possession. Of course, they have to avoid committing another foul here on this one. Though the Cavaliers have struggled at the line, you don't want to send them there. 5.6 on the clock. We're tied at 86.
And the Dolphins can, of course, we'll see where this ball is put. It will be in the front. No, it'll be in the back court, but because they didn't take the ball out. They called an immediate timeout. So it'll be Monroe. They have to go the length of the floor. Dolphins electing not to pressure Monroe. And it's going to be Bagwell with 5 and 4. Bagwell given space. Long range 2. It's good. At the buzzer. And it will be Bagwell to give the team a 2-point lead. The game is not over. The clock, maybe a .2 on the clock. I don't know if it's enough, Mike, to even get a shot up. What a moment for Bagwell.
Yeah, it was a nice job by the Cavaliers keeping their composure, Dave, after blowing an 11-point lead down the stretch in this game. And, Bagwell hit the big shot, and if there's time left, it's not going to be very much.
An almost carbon copy of their regular season meeting, Mike. The Dolphins were up. Cabrini scored with a second left, and it was, I think, 0.7. It's going to be 0.4, I believe, if I could read lips correctly. Let's see how good I am at that. The Dolphins basically just have to catch and shoot.
Yeah,
And 0.2. So I don't even know if the Dolphins can get a shot up.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a tip I don't think they can catch and shoot. I think they can just tip with 0.2 of a second remaining. But, you know, it was a one-on-one play, Bagwell against Flagg, and Flagg played pretty good defense on him, Dave. But Bagwell hit the big shot, and Cabrini now just 2 seconds away from advancing as the College Gate of Staten Island has given the number 22 team in the country everything they want.
Bracic can move. And it's out. And no good, and it will be Cabrini moving on. The Dolphins wanted a whistle on the screen that knocked Ray Savage down. They won't get it, obviously. They'll line up to shake hands. What a game, Mike. What a game. It would have been very unfortunate to see either team lose this one. Unfortunately, it's ours, but what a game.
Yeah, you know, it was a great game, Dave, but, you know, Savage was a little bit frustrated, and I don't really blame him. He was absolutely just run over by Monroe, and how that's not a foul, I don't know. And, you know, going down the stretch, there were a couple of very tough calls against the Dolphins in the paint against Cabrini. And then to finish the game, Monroe just runs over Savage, who was trying to set a pick to allow the Dolphins to run an inbounds play. And, boy, I thought that should be a personal foul, David.
We're gonna get a second look at it just because we're watching it the way the fans are watching it. Oh, that's, you know, Savage did try and sell it. But in any event, I'm okay with that not being called, Mike. You know what? The Dolphins were down by 11 in the second half. So much resiliency. I know there's tears on Ed and Bracic's face right now. You know, and I know the Dolphins are really, you know, down here. But what a phenomenal effort. It's tough to see our team on the reverse end of this one, but what a game.
Yeah, you know, Dave, the way that this Dolphin team played all season long, nothing but positive things happening under first-year head coach T.J. Tibbs. And, you know, how many times did they have an opportunity in that second half to quit? They fell down by 11. They went 4 minutes down the stretch without being able to score a basket, but they just kept on coming, taking a 3-point lead with 1:53 seconds remaining. But unfortunately for the Dolphins, it wasn't enough. They couldn't get a couple of good offensive possessions down the stretch, and a big basket by Bagwell as he hit the jumper over Flagg with just 0.2 of a second remaining compels the Cavaliers back in to the second round of the NCAA tournament. The Dolphins finished the season 17-12, but nothing but positive reviews and lots of great things to build on for the future.
Joe, you know, the Dolphins needed a spark. They got one towards the tail end of the half. Of course, they lifted up their three-point shooting at the end to finish 26%, and including a 4-for-4 clip down the stretch. But at the end of the day, it was a tough 22nd ranked Cabrini team that was able to pull it out. Of course, sparked by Bagwell, who undoubtedly is our player of the game with 15 points and 15 rebounds.
And the Dolphins in that second half down the stretch played extremely well, began to hit those big shots that they lacked for so much of their run earlier in the second half as they tried to get back into the game, finally got over the hump late in the game. And I'm taking a look at the stats here. Christian Taylor is down as 10 of 10 from the free throw line, I see, but I think he did miss a free throw.
Oh, no, it was called back because of the lane
violation. You're right, Dave. So he shoots 14 of 20 overall, 10 of 10 from the charity stripe, 38 points in this game.
Career high.
For Christian Taylor, a career high. Adiola Latunji with 22 points and 8 rebounds for the Dolphins. Jade Spencer as well with 6 points and 10 rebounds. Did good work for them on the interior. And the Dolphins, again, with a strong showing in this game, a great all-around effort. Early in the first half, they played extremely well. Late in the second half, they played extremely well. It was those middle 20 minutes, 10 in the first half and 10 in the second half, that really hurt them in this game. During those minutes, Cabrini got red hot from downtown, and Taheem Monroe really gave them fits inside. The Dolphins just didn't have an answer for him during those 20 minutes. But then once again, they went back to what they did in the first half and really slowed him down. Late in this game, they were beaten from the outside, as you mentioned. Undoubtedly, Darrell Bagwell, our player of the game, hit the huge shot, of course, that put Cabrini over the Dolphins by an 88-86 final.
Yeah, you know, obviously a tough break as the home broadcast team, for CSI. But Mike, you alluded to it, and I think Joe punctuated it with the fact that, Mike, going into this season, there are a lot of people who thought this was going to be a rebuilding year for the Dolphins. Brand new coach, only a couple of seniors, only one 4-year senior, a really unproven point guard to this point in Christian Taylor, a lot of missing pieces, only 28% of their scoring offense back from a year ago. And to finish it like this, I know it's not what the Dolphins wanted, but what a tremendous step forward from a young and quote-unquote what's supposed to be a rebuilding team.
Yeah, no doubt, Dave. And, on a night that they don't really even play their best basketball, they come out and give the number 22 team in the country everything they wanted on their home floor, taking a 3-point lead with under 2 minutes remaining, but it just wasn't enough. They couldn't get a defensive stop after that three-pointer was made, and then a couple of offensive possessions that they really didn't get their best looks at the basket. And, Dolphins still able to overcome all of it and have an opportunity, but just falling short at the buzzer because Darryl Bagwell hit that big jumper to close out the game.
All right, so 10 o'clock, 10:23, actually one of the latest endings we've had, of course, apart from the CUNY championship game. We want to thank so many of you who came and joined us tonight, over 1,300 strong. We really appreciate you following us, not just tonight, but all year long here on CSI Sportsnet. Our coverage has been consistent. It's been I think refreshing for us. It kind of takes us out of the day-to-day and gets us doing something that we enjoy doing. So, guys, I want to congratulate and applaud you guys for being on the air this entire year. We've had Arthur Kapetanekis join us as well for a bulk of it. Bobby Drake joined us for a little bit doing some engineering work. We've had great camera work this entire year. So I know it's a labor of love for us. It's something we enjoy, but a lot of hard work goes into it. So I want to thank you guys for being such a big part of it.
Yeah, and Dave, the seasons just roll on. Volleyball's still going on, and of course softball and baseball about to get underway. And were it not for the nor'easter that blanketed us, here today, we would be rolling up the turnpike, Dave, getting ready to bring you softball tomorrow afternoon in a game that was obviously canceled.
Yep, and we will be back on the air tomorrow morning. We have to turn this thing around and get over to CSI to cover CSI men's volleyball. They have a non-conference tri-match in the morning. We're going to get that one up to you. And then as the spring rolls around, Joe, back to baseball and softball and some more exciting action.
As a Mets season ticket holder and a big baseball fan, I always look forward to baseball and softball season, and being back on the air, something that I really enjoy doing. And I thank you for allowing me to put on the headset tonight while I was operating the camera. I had a lot of fun covering this NCAA tournament game, the first of these games that I've attended either as a member of the CSI community or at all. I have never attended a college basketball tournament game, and I'm not sure I could have gotten a much better affair for my first NCAA tournament game, so I'm happy to be here. I really enjoyed our broadcast tonight. I hope the viewers did as well. I know it didn't end the way that Dolphins fans wanted, but they were treated to a great game, and it gives them a lot to look forward to next year. And of course, it's going to be a long off season, but there's a lot to look forward to from this team next year. Only one senior departing, that being Eden Brocic, who played a huge role, and Ray Savage, of course, but Brocic, the only 4-year senior. Both of those players, Savage and Brocic, played a huge role down the stretch. Unfortunately, the Dolphins couldn't pick up the win for them.
So once again, our final score here from Radnor, Pennsylvania, 88 for Cabrini, 86 for the College of Staten Island. Cabrini will play tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock against Springfield in the round of 32 for the Dolphins. Their season ends for the second year in a row with a first-round NCAA national championship loss, this time at the hands of Cabrini for the second time this season. So for Joe Foreman, our cameraman and our third man on the mic, for Mike Bebuski, I'm David Pizzuto saying good night. Thank you for joining us tonight and all season long right here on CSI Sportsnet, hosted by CSIDolphins.com. Thank you.